They called me the Donald Trump of synthetic. They seize 8 vehicles. They take $1 million clean in the bottom of a safe. I'm running a legal business that happened to start selling these products that were just banned. I'm in my 20s, going to bars, not really doing much. And I found that I had an affinity for the side hustle of selling grass. I went from selling a little bit here and there to friends and, just getting enough to have some for yourself to all of a sudden making trips where you're in it with one bad move. So I had put together a little nest egg through doing that of maybe $20,000, let's say, right? Something like that. And, in this small town that I'm from, the only smoke shop in the town is called OCJ's, Odd Creations Junket. You go in there. This guy literally started the business in 1979, the year I was born, and looks like he hasn't changed much since 1979. So you go in there. He keeps the lights out till someone comes in. Oh, all right, I'll turn them on now. Like cheap, crazy dust on everything. This is a terrible, terrible smoke shop. This is the only one in town. So
he doesn't have to be super good. It's
yeah,
the only option.
You're the only show in town. Yeah, and this guy's like an old stoner. Everybody loved him. He's everybody's cool with him. It's a cool thing. Yeah, we go see Danny. It's a thing. So, but he's having pretty good success there. But here's me. I've been doing this little hustling on the side, and I want to do something with this money. I've always wanted to get into business. So then I decide I'm going to do a smoke shop. I'm looking at stuff online. I'm looking from everything from Chinese glassware from Alibaba and these other online sites to real wholesale websites. So I start looking them up. I'm putting stuff in carts. I'm doing all this stuff. And I said, yeah, this is it. This is the thing I'm going to do. So I put together a smoke shop, probably spent half of this nest egg that I had, and I'm running the smoke shop. That's all going good and fine. But I'm making maybe $100 a day profit. Not a world killer. People start coming by and they're telling me, hey, there's a town Utica. It's 20 minutes away.
Is this after you're paying your lease and everything, or you're making $3,000 a month and you still have to pay for your lease?
No. That's profit.
Okay.
I'm making about $100 a day profit. I'm probably doing $300 or $400 a day in business.
Okay.
So it's a business. It's working.
You can live.
You can live off this. I certainly could have.
I wouldn't want to.
Yeah, and believe me, it's getting better. So people start coming by. They're telling me this next city over, same thing, one store in town, and they kind of treat people like shit. They're just like, hey, take it or leave it, kind of. They've got attitudes. It's crazy. No one likes going there, but they're the only show in town too. And people are telling me, hey, if you come over here and build one here, people will go there. They don't like these guys, So I do it. I start a second one. I have a friend working the first one, and I'm starting the second one. Now, keep in mind, this whole time, I'm doing a little bit of side hustling, right? Not a lot, but I'm doing a little bit of side hustling. But I've got a good friend that just has always been a grower. That's all. He's done it his whole life. He loves it. So I start the second one, and I'm actually going so crazy at that time that we actually build a grow room upstairs in a smoke shop, which is an absolutely terrible idea. You already have scrutiny because you're running a smoke shop selling paraphernalia. Why don't we throw a grow room?
Why don't we go ahead and make it official?
Yeah, it's a great idea. Brilliant, right? So, and believe me, there's gonna be a lot of brilliant ideas here, right? This is one of them. So I'm doing the grow room. I've got the 2 stores. It's going pretty good between side hustle money. Both stores are profitable. It's going good. And so, crazy moment. In walks a guy that I still know to this day, Tommy. So Tommy walks in. Tommy's from Colorado, but he's always out. He's always traveling around. He's around all these places in West Coast. And he's coming in. He's like, hey, do you got any of this spice? I'm like, no, what spice? And he's like, yeah, they're selling it in all these shops, West Coast. It's this, it's a dried leaf material, and they're spraying this chemical that's sort of a synthetic grass deal. They're spraying it on there, and it works. It's good. So he's telling me about it. So I'm researching it. What
year is this?
This is 2006, 2007. Yeah, okay. This is just becoming prominent nationwide. Now, keep in mind, this is the original version of what I call K2 Spice. It's a synthetic product. The original version was actually really good. Okay. So what I tell people for an analogy is water is H2O, 2 atoms of hydrogen, 1 atom of oxygen. So imagine if instead of H2O, you create H3O. It's very similar in chemical structure and still causes the same effect to the human body, but yet it's not going to set off a field test and urinalysis and all the stuff that people worry about, because keep in mind, it's not like today where there's almost every state has legalized grass. This is, it's banned in every state. This is not legal anywhere. So this product is becoming prominent nationwide, and I am the first person in my area, and to have a leg up, I'm in these 2 towns that I'm the only show in town. There's one other store, but I'm the only one doing this. Right. So Tommy comes in, he tells me about all this, and I'm going, you know what? Let's try some, bring some, And Tommy was really funny. He was really good. He would, every single thing he ever brought me said not for human consumption on it. And it was, this obscure federal law that the Synthetic Drug Act of like 1987 was, if it's anything that's meant for human consumption is, if it has this, and this, it's illegal. So he would have not for human consumption on everything. So he brings it in. And I mean, this thing blows up. When I tell you it blows up, it's going crazy. So, and then I start making it go crazy. So I am running on a local radio station. I'm blasting this on the radio. Come get this magic something, magic smoker. We called it something. The original one, it was Tommy's name, right? So come get this. I'm running on the radio saying this. Okay. I did a sort of like a podcast. This Bill Keeler was a local radio talent. I'm going on his show. I'm doing the show, and the guy that's working the show also, he pulls it out of his pocket. Hey, look, I went and got something this morning. It's fantastic. It works. It's just like the real thing. Right. So it's nuts because I'm bringing it to an area nobody had ever heard of it in, So when I tell you this takes off, I mean, this takes off. This is now you're going from doing $300-400 a day to every store's doing at least $1,000 a day on slow days. How do we scale this? How do we get this? Money's pouring in. It's go time, right? How do we do this? So I get immediately to work on creating new stores. So I start going around to all these any little town that was near, far enough to have a new location, but close enough that it's got its own people. It's really close. So I go to a third small town near me, town of 20,000 people. I'm going around, asking people, hey, what radio station do you listen to? I'm interviewing people as they're going out front. Typical things that you would do when you're starting a business, but I'm keeping in mind that this is the #1 seller. So This isn't just a regular smoke shop anymore. This is building a smoke shop with the intent that we are going to sell mucho spice there, right? Like this is going to go crazy. So
are you concerned at all that like it could be illegal or could be made illegal?
Oh, at this point, no, this was a tiger by the tail. Right. This was, I've got this thing that nobody else has. Everybody's trying to get into this at this point. People are looking to open stores, and I'm demolishing them all because I am pumping radio ads. I'm building new places. I've got the word of mouth already. Everybody in the whole area was knowing that you could go buy this. So keep in mind, the area that I'm from has like a Walmart distribution center right near there. Over 3,000 people work there, regularly piss tested. They love it. So it's a lot of the works. There are many prisons in upstate New York right near me. Everybody who worked at those prisons, I can now go and smoke and not fail a urinalysis. Right. It's huge, right? This thing is really taken off. So it's everybody, and it's people that just don't want to deal with the regular call my guy, go meet him in a gas station parking lot, bullshit. I can go right in, pay this. I'm paying sales tax on it. Yeah. If I get pulled over, I'm telling them, hey, look, I just got this right here at Tebbetts. I just bought this right now. Look at it. So it's taken off. I mean, this is going nuts. So I build the third one, the fourth one. Now I go to Syracuse. So this is, I'm from a small town, it's 30,000 people. Syracuse got, almost 200,000 people. So I go right to a very popular bar area, Armory Square. I must have spent 20 grand on this building. I don't even own the building. Spent 20 grand on just remodeling it. 14-foot high ceilings with big glass water pipes up and down. Built a huge smoke shop right downtown. I start running on so you've got the station was called K-Rock. So I'm running on the radio stations in my area, and now I start running on Syracuse radio stations. It takes off. It's going nuts. So I'm building stores. We are going crazy. I'm actually having to build out a real team now, because I've got to build out people just like a regular business. I've got to have sort of district managers. All right, you take care of this in this store, you do this. It becomes, quite a lot to deal with at that point. But when I tell you money's rolling in, it's huge. So I start taking off. I start doing all these other ones. I do 4 of them total in Syracuse. I had 12 stores all said and done at the end, but I had done 4 in the Utica Rome area where I'm from, 4 of them in Syracuse. I go up, I do one in Watertown. Watertown is next to a place called Fort Drum military base. It's literally half the people in this town. It becomes my best store instantly. Right. It's all these Army guys. They all have piss tests. They can all come get this.
What's happening with the other stores? Are they just they're not catching on that, hey, I should sell this? Or
everybody's catching on. Selling? Everybody's selling it. So in the end,
but they're just behind the ball.
Yeah. So then not only are they behind the ball on it, but I am getting to the point where I'm running radio stations. We are the name recognition that everybody knows, right? So I'm running on the radio station. I'm pushing marketing as hard as possible. I'm building big, huge signs. Normal smoke shops just have like this little, they don't do big, crazy signage. Now you see them all with it. They want everybody to know they're there. But at this time, it kind of wasn't like that.
I was going to say, it's funny because like if you go to get cigarettes someplace, right? Like you go to 7-Eleven to get cigarettes and they don't have them. And then you go to Circle K to see if they have them, and they do have them. Almost nobody ever goes back to 7-Eleven again. Like they'll always keep going to Circle K. Why? Because they always have the cigarettes I want. They would have to run out for you to even consider going back to the 7-Eleven that ran out. You see what I'm saying? So, And not just that, now that they're going there, now every time they need they need to buy a soda, they don't go, why would I go to the old 7-Eleven? They don't even have my cigarettes. They go to the new place. They keep going, what I'm saying? Now they're buying all their, now that becomes kind of their go-to move. So you're saying that you're pulling from these other places. They're buying their stuff at your place, and they're just kind of staying there at this point, right? Because nobody else, even if these guys come out, obviously they get cigarettes again. Doesn't matter. This is a place that always has it. And this is a place I'm now there. You'd have to fuck up for them to go back to 7-Eleven.
Oh yeah. And I'm leaving out a very important part of this too. So early on, when I'm at 3 or 4 stores and I'm realizing there's all these people that are out there trying to push their brand of this spice. So you're getting phone calls. My store's getting calls every day from the whole country is onto this, and these people are calling. They're trying to sell some version of this to me. Well, as luck would have it, the guy that I started with, Tommy, he's a scientist. This guy, right? Like he's into it. He's ordering all kinds of different synthetic drugs and trying them. He's nuts. He's into it. So he's making me stuff that's much better than other people. And very early on, I realized I've got to make my own brand. I want to control this brand. I actually was getting copied by other stores that were taking our brand, photocopying it, making stickers that said Legal Funk, which was our brand, and selling it in their stores with a black and white face to it. Other stores are starting to copy because people are coming in saying, you have any Legal Funk? No, that's the one I want. So we're actually making a better version too. Right. So this isn't a Circle K 7-Eleven deal. We're making a really good version of this, right? So I'm leaving that part out. And I mean, when I tell you Tommy's a scientist, he's going hard on this. It's a matter of not only what you're doing, but he would put a couple of different ones in one. So the original formula was called JWH018. That was the more closely. So that was like the H30, but you'd have H40, H50. They kept making different ones of these, So he's making the best ones possible at this time, right? So I go up, I do Watertown. So about right after I do the Watertown one, it's going hard. And I mean, Watertown's doing $8,000-$10,000 a day every day. It's going hard. All of a sudden, you start having little news outlets, and people start doing these stories of, hey, there's this new phenomenon, and people are catching on. You're getting articles, news, different things, And so the writing is starting to be on the wall a little bit like, hey, this is becoming very prominent. They're going to have to do something about it. So I'm watching all of that kind of stuff, right? And my guy Tommy is seriously watching all that kind of stuff. If they ban something, it's sort of a cat and mouse game when it comes to this, right? They ban H3O, you make H4O. They ban H4O, you make H5O.
Right.
So about right after I'd done Watertown, they had started to do some bans, and they would take like 5 chemicals at once and say, okay, these are now on the controlled list. This is now considered a controlled substance. So they did, I think the original ban was like 5 different chemicals. Tommy was ready. Boom, we're on to something else. So, am I worried that this is illegal? I'm not even thinking of that. I'm thinking, again, tiger by the tail mentality. Yeah, they change it, we're going to change it. Doesn't matter. You want to ban this, by the time you get this done, we're going to be on to the next thing. That's not even a problem, So, I mean, that's at least my thinking at the time. It's obviously, I see where that led, but that's my thinking at the time. So, like I say, right after we do Watertown, not only does this start becoming like a deal, you're seeing it in news stories. I'd had a few reporters calling me. I'm not talking to any of them. I'm just going hard. And people always ask you this at the end and after you've done, why didn't you stop? Why didn't you stop? Well, you're not making the kind of money that I was making. And on top of that, for me, I'd never made that kind of money in my life. I was, just running around doing job to job bullshit. I'm not making this kind of money. So it starts hitting the fan a little bit, right? They're onto it. You're getting the five chemical ban. All of a sudden, I get blacklisted by the Army. So I get served in every single location. Every store, my house, I had already built a warehouse that I'm distributing, product in, everything from my warehouse. I get served everywhere that, hey, just to let you know, U.S. Army personnel are no longer allowed to step foot in any of your premises. List them all out. So I'm blacklisted. Army personnel, so they're pissed up there, right? They're not happy about this. So we're blacklisted. And what's funny is I used to just kind of go around to all these stores. I'm checking in, seeing how everything's going, see what people are doing. And I was going up to Watertown. I'd hang out for an hour or two, just kind of see how things are going. I'm noticing all kinds of weird stuff is selling in the Watertown store. Pink stuff, different shirts. I hang out for an hour. I realize everybody's sending their wives in. Everybody's sending all the women in. Every pink pipe selling out of the place. Different things are selling in this store now. And that's all they're doing. They're just sending somebody else in. This store's numbers are still never stopping, So I ended up opening 3 more stores after that, right? So I do a total of 12 stores. I mean, getting towards the end of this, we are pulling in money. We are, this thing is, I have 2 different districts. I have somebody running the 3 main stores. I have somebody else running, 4 stores from Syracuse, a different person running all the Utica Rome stores. And you kind of convince yourself, like, we're skirting a gray area. This isn't illegal. We're just skirting a gray area, I've got bank accounts with a bunch of money in it. We're going and counting money. You're doing, we'd go get money from every store. You're doing $120,000, $150,000 a week in cash sales, plus, a bunch of credit cards, other stuff. It's pretty crazy, It's going full fledged. It's going hard. And, the
reminiscing.
Yeah.
I can see it in your face. Good times.
Yeah, these are
good
really
times.
The good times because a lot of other people, they're committing crimes and they know it's coming to an end. Eventually, right? Like you had to know this is coming. They are going to catch up to me.
Well, I thought I was pretty cocky. I thought I'm just that good. They're never going to get me. Yeah. I'm that good. You become emboldened.
And people think that's easier than people think.
Right. I know what I'm doing is illegal. Like you're thinking, okay, they just banned this. Okay, we're going to switch this. We're going to do this and this. We're good. Okay, cool. Let's keep going. Like you're thinking I'm ahead of them.
Right. And so I'm thinking I'm ahead of them, but I'm also thinking we can stay ahead of them. They're publicizing these upcoming bans.
Right.
We know when this is going to happen. They're saying, hey, this is going to be reviewed in Congress in 2 weeks. And we're getting solicited by people because everybody's watching it. So we're getting solicited by people that are trying to sell us stuff. And they're saying, hey, buy our stuff. We're up on the laws. We're not going to let you have anything old or that's outdated or no good anymore, And keep in mind, there's also some other bad stuff that's happening at this time. at this time, okay, so my analogy, the H2O, H3O, H4O. Now, by the time you make H47O, you're pretty far away from the original formula, right? We're not talking, just a regular synthetic product anymore. You're talking about something crazy. And you're getting stories like, in Florida, people are eating people's faces. You're getting crazy stories. Yeah,
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I think I remember like when I was in high school or middle school, people saying, I don't know if it's the same thing, called like bath salts or something, but I remember people saying like in Miami is like a literal zombie, like trying to eat somebody.
Yeah, there was a kid that like ate his neighbor's face or something. Wasn't it a kid or was it?
Yeah, and the story ends up being overblown for what it is, but it's it's true, and people are. Like I say, you get so far away from the original formula, and it's crazy because here it is, the federal government thinks they're helping. You're coming in, you're hurting this. You're banning all the very close formulas, the ones that are more natural and more likely to be natural and like the real thing. And you're making these, you're not making these people, but you're having people go and create formulas that are far off. Right. This is made in some lab somewhere, and it comes in as kilos of powder, and you're taking it and you're putting it, dissolving it in alcohol and spraying it on a dried plant material. You don't really know
what the effects are at this
point. You don't know, and you don't know who's done that. Now,
batch.
I know who's doing mine, and I trust him, so I know that what we're doing is good, and the proof is in the pudding because everybody loves what we're doing. We're outselling everybody, right? And I know what's going on the street. Keep in mind, I'd go to Vegas to all these trade shows, these smoke shop trade shows, right? And I remember going to Champs trade shows where literally a whole section of the trade show is nothing but like K2 and spice area. There's people selling truckloads of Damania leaf and marshmallow leaf and the actual materials used to make it. Those guys are making killings. You'd have people that buy up the whole supply, buy truckloads of it for a couple $100 a pound, and then selling it. They found an arbitrage opportunity in it. Nuts. So, I mean, I would be going to these places and I would be seeing everybody do it. So there's a lot of people, and there's a lot of people doing it way bigger than we're doing it. I just happen to be killing it in the area that I'm in. So, but everybody's doing this. And at this point, every other store is doing it too. I'm getting blacklisted because I happen to have one that's very popular with the Army, but you go to convenience stores, Circle K's and 7-Elevens, and people have a similar product there. Everybody wanted in on this. And that will sort of rock you to sleep too. That'll let you think, well, everybody's doing this, right?
Absolutely.
Come on, it's Bob, Dave, Joe, everybody's doing it. So what am I doing that's any different?
If they're going to get anybody, they're going to get Paul.
Yeah.
He's got a huge operation. He's all over the country, right? Like you're thinking,
yeah.
You're certainly not on their list.
No. And then, a little secret for everybody out there is nobody knows what the federal government can do when they come in. I had only known of state things, and when things happen on a state level, if you've got enough money to post some bail, you're fine. So I know at any point in time, I've got a safe. I'm trying to stack $1 million of brand new $100 bills in this thing, right? Like I'm like going to the bank and exchanging some like old shitty ones and getting brand new crispy ones. How many you got? Oh, you got 30,000. I'll take those. And I'm trying to stack this to make $1 million clean in the bottom of a safe. I'm fucking around with money at this point, right? Like it's pretty crazy, and everybody's doing it. So I just think I happen to, in my mind at the time, I'm the person that happens to be really good at this in Rome, New York. There's another guy who happens to be really good at this in Tampa and in Los Angeles and wherever else. I just happen to be the guy in Rome that's really good at this. So I have
a question. Are you married at this point? Are you living in a nicer house? Are you still living in your one bedroom?
Yeah. So I went from smaller apartments to, as the money's coming in more and more, I had a nice 5-bedroom house in the city. But then as I start to be this person that everybody knows, and when I tell you I'm this person everybody knows is, I've got these, I've got these stores that are in every town nearby. I'm on the radio all the time. People are reciting my commercials to me. Like the commercials go, Tebbs, 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 T-E-double-B, Tebbs, Tebbs. People would drive by in cars yelling it out at me. Everywhere I go, it's sort of like that. So I'm in the middle of town, and that gets a little sickening when you're making a lot more money than everybody else is, right? It's you're the first person people, when they need money, you're the first person they call for a loan, first person when they need anything in the world. Somebody's, as soon as they get arrested, like I had Rome Police booking in my phone. So I know, all right, who is it this time? Right. I need bail money, So I'm living in a 5-bedroom house in the city. I go to a really nice house that's sort of 2 miles out of town, and that was the last house that I had. But yeah, I'm living in a nice house. I've got at the time 3 kids, married. All extravagant with that shit too. Like I went to Atlantic City and got married. I was the first one to get married out on the pier in Atlantic City. They got a little mini water show, sort of like the Bellagio. So I'm doing that. I'm married. I got I went and bought an RV. And this ends up being a money laundering charge, but I bought an RV for $205,000, and because I flew to Texas to go get it, it's nuts. But so I buy a brand new 40-foot diesel pusher RV. And I've got people managing this for me. I'm leaving sometimes 2-3 weeks at a time. I'm driving all around the country in this RV. I mean, I did a trip that was nuts. I went to the Arch in St. Louis, down to see my sister in Louisiana, over to the Grand Canyon, Vegas, LA, Mall of America, and back. That's the kind of stuff that I'm doing at the time. And again, this is all legit. And what's crazy is, on the last ones of these RV trips, that's when I'm starting to get some of these crazy calls in, right? Like people are, hey, the health department stopped by here, because it's starting to get where they're trying to come at you from any angle that they can. They tried a few health department passing things. They try, they've tried a lot of different things. I had a couple raids from a local police department, the Herkimer Village Police. Oh, and then the captain has me out front. He's trying to have a heart-to-heart. People are getting hurt on this. They're using this. They're getting hurt. And, me being in that mindset, I'm out there telling them, I didn't make them do this.
So you're shutting down the ABC Lounge? Is that what you guys are doing too? Yeah. People are getting, that bar across the street sells alcohol. People kill each other driving drunk. Like, are you shutting them down? Like, what you're doing is perfectly legal. Why would they shut you? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like somebody's telling him to do that.
Right. And what you're doing is hurting people, but it's by their choice. I didn't hurt people my way of doing it. They came in and decided to purchase something, and some people are screwing their lives up with it. They do it in a bar.
I was going to say, that's what I'm saying.
They do it at a casino.
7-Eleven, like people are they're getting off work, going and buying 2 6-packs, going home and getting drunk and beating their wife and fucking kids. Like shut down 7-Eleven if that's what your real concern is.
Yeah. And what
are they? I'm sorry, one more time. When they come in and raid, what are they raiding for? What are they saying? We're here to raid your place for what? What are they looking for?
So at the end, when they came in and did the raid, they had made buys in April of 2012. And the buys that they made in April 2012, they were looking for the chemical that was in that batch. And what's crazy is when this all happens, so they end up doing 14 search warrants at the exact same time. So I am the Syracuse area DEA's only target. I'm the only person they're targeting. And that's because they had to do 14 of them. So you've got, but FBI, all these, the whole alphabet there. You've got local police, you got all these people in each one of these. And they're doing 14 of them at the same time, trying to make them simultaneous. So when they come in, I'm handcuffed. I'm sitting in a chair. I'm at my warehouse. There's about 8 people there, and I'm by the door. And one of the undercover DEA agents comes over, and he's showing me on his phone. He says, "Hey, this guy?" I'm like, "No, I don't know that guy at all." And he's like, "Yeah, that's me." And so I'm looking closer. I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "Yeah." So I went to your store and I made a couple buys, and he's showing me pictures of the stuff that he bought. And I'm like, "So, and he's like, "Yeah, that's it's banned now." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, I'm aware of the ban on July 9th, and you're going to see when you have everything here, nothing here, right? Which was true. And it's crazy because they have somebody that comes in that looks completely out of place. Everybody else is uniformed. This guy comes in, and I don't know who he is, but he must be something to do with a lab guy. He comes in, he does something for a while because I can't see around the corner where he's at. He comes back out and he kind of shakes his head. He's looking at somebody and he kind of shakes his head, and I'm going, yeah,
Right.
I've got the new badge. I'm aware of that law. Everything I have is good, So they are just interviewing people. There's 8 people there in this warehouse. They're interviewing them and letting them go one at a time. And so now it's just me there. And so at the end, I'm like, all right, where are you taking me? I'm trying to figure out, in my head, I'm trying to figure out the bail situation. What do I have to, who do I have to call to try to get some money to come bail somebody out, right? And keep in mind, they are bringing out, my safe is in my warehouse. They are bringing out trash bags full of synthetic products, all kinds of weird stuff, cash. One bag was full of cash. They took everything from everywhere. And keep in mind, the number that is in my paperwork is not the correct number. These scumbags, just a side note,
Right.
It's not the same number. And yeah, so they're taking all of this stuff out. So I'm thinking for sure, I'm going somewhere. And at the end, the guy says, no, we're sending this to the lab. We know where to find you. And gives me a card, says, you better call an attorney. That's it. They uncuff me and they leave. I'm going, wow. I'm shaking. I'm like, wow. So this is a crazy day. And so by the time I get out, and they take my car, they take everything. They seize 8 vehicles. They take all these vehicles. So I get a ride. I go home. I'm watching myself on the 6 o'clock news, raids all over all these stores. And the feeling, the punch in the gut though. But even then, it's still not like, hey, this is over. This isn't the end. This is like, they got me. Kind of knew this was going to come. I kind of knew this day was going to come, but I've got this, I'm going to bail out. It's, all of that kind of stuff.
Are you allowing yourself to think that at some point they will come up with something and what am I looking at? Or are you thinking, no, I'm just going to keep beating them?
Yeah. Life is always about risk versus reward. Right. And so earlier, that's why I never got into anything hard. It's risk versus reward. The risk is lower than the reward, I'm in. Right. So that's what I'm always weighing, risk versus reward. So at the whole time, I am never thinking that the risk is something crazy, right? Because in the end, the risk that they were threatening is a continuing criminal enterprise.
Right.
Because you're conspiring with 5 or more people from 3 or more different locations to run a criminal enterprise. So in the end, that's the threat. Nobody knows it. That carries a mandatory minimum of 20 years.
Right.
Keep in mind, right? So I don't understand that this gets the risk. Nobody knows what the feds are going to do when they come in. People know what happens on a state level because it happens all the time. And when you're from a small town like I am, there's no federal trouble there. No one ever gets in. It may be some drug thing here or there, but you don't know the inner workings of what happens when the feds come in. When they come in, they bitch slap everybody and take everything. And then they say it's guilty until proven innocent. And, you don't realize that at the time. So at the time, what do I think is the worst case scenario? A couple years. Yeah. So they leave. Hey, you better get a lawyer. And I am, I'm taking it serious, but I'm not taking it as serious as it is, right? So I go home, feel sorry for myself for the rest of the day, watching myself on the news. Everyone's calling me, what happened, all that kind of stuff. So I get up in the morning, first order of business, let's go find an attorney, right? Now, I go and I talk to Les Lewis, my guy, who's my favorite attorney ever. The problem with Les is he does state, city stuff where I'm at. I'm being charged in federal court in Syracuse, which is 45 minutes away from me. And, I've always thought if you're going to go get an attorney, especially for something important, you want somebody who knows everybody in that building, plays golf with the judges and the DAs, and that's who I'm looking for. So I'm going and I'm interviewing these attorneys. So I go into Jeff DeRoberts. He's a prominent Syracuse attorney. He's telling me, "Oh, we're going to get this thrown out. This is not. It's unbelievable. 16 days. Yeah, you didn't even know. You didn't know. You know, it's nothing. We're going to get this thrown out. My fees $25,000. Blah blah blah." So I'm like, wow, okay, it's not so bad. And then I go into my attorney that I end up hiring, George Hildenbrandt, and I sit down. I tell him the story. And George Hildenbrandt tells me, "You're going to federal prison."
Right.
I'm like, whoa. He's like, "Oh yeah, you're going to federal prison. It's just a matter of how long." It's just semantic from here, but you're going to federal prison. And I'm like, well, it's been 16 days. They passed the law July 9th. I'm only in possession July 16th. And keep in mind, a part that I'm leaving out here is they seized, 100,000 grams of, product.
Right.
And the only thing I'm having a problem with, we had, I told you the health department tried doing some weird things. We had this old batch that was still legal in the state of Maine. It was only banned by the health department in the state of New York. And we were slowly sending this batch to Maine, right?
That's civil.
It's 8,000.
Is that criminal or is that civil?
It's only civil if you have a health department. It's like a health department violation. It's not a big deal. So we're taking it and we're slowly, it's what you can fit in one little bin, this much. There ends up being 8,000 grams of this batch, right?
Which you never sold. But you didn't sell in that. You didn't sell in the area.
Never sold it. It's the only thing. The only problem is I'm in possession of this 8,000 grams. Okay. Right. So I go into George Hildenbrandt's office and it's 8,000 grams. So you look at this, when you have a synthetic drug case, they have to find the equivalent and they convert it to what its equivalent would be in grass. That's how they do it in the federal system.
Right.
So I go in there and he says, no. They're not going to, this isn't going to be 8,000 grams of that. They're going to convert this to something different. And it doesn't matter that it's been 16 days. Ignorance of the law is no excuse.
Right.
You're going to federal prison for this. Right. So I go, wow. And I had been to see maybe 3 or 4 attorneys, but I just liked, he was up front. He was prominent, everything. So I end up hiring George Hildenbrandt. And sure enough, as we go in to as we go into the process, he's hearing from them and they're telling him that they are going to charge this as a methyl something. It's a real long name, but it's basically like ice is what they're making this the equivalent of.
Why not grass?
It is what it more closely represents. And they have a 3-tiered system that determines what this is more closely to. What it's more closely to in chemical structure. And there's all these different rules behind it. So, for example, if you took 1 gram of something illegal and mixed it in with 999 grams of something that's fully legal, baby powder, and you mix that in, that all becomes it. So that's the argument. And they're saying, we're going to charge this. And the conversion is 347 to 1. So 8,000 grams in the federal system is probation. It's nothing. It's not a big deal. Multiply that 8,000 times 347, it becomes a big number, right?
Right.
And so
what is that number? 10 years, 20 years?
My guideline ended up being 87 to 108. That was my guideline range for that level. And so
87 months.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, 87 months. So it's 7 years. This is nuts. But, the whole time, this is what happens with attorneys. They tell you there's all these extenuating circumstances. They can, this isn't like normal. We're going to have an evidentiary hearing where we're going to argue this out. So what it was I ended up taking a plea bargain to agree to possession of 8,000 grams of AM2201. And the deal was that we would agree to disagree and argue later at an evidentiary hearing what that converted to. So when I went in to jail, it was I could get, if I win that evidentiary hearing, I could get probation, time served in probation. If I lose that, 5-10 years, like not good, right? So the whole beginning time that I'm in this county jail, my life is hinging on this evidentiary hearing. So So that's a big one, right?
Do you guys bring in your own expert?
So we did. We hired one chemical expert, which George found, and they had two experts, and only one of them shows up to the hearing, which is crazy. And so we had this evidentiary hearing, and it's pretty crazy. The evidentiary hearing is you're in a courtroom, and it's weird, and the judge is sitting there listening to everything, and you're both making your case to this argument. My attorney opens up with a screen on the wall, and it is the definition of what this chemical is, and it refers to it as a synthetic grass product. Now this definition is on the DEA's website, DEA.gov. So he says that, and so he says that she's on the stand, their witness, and she says, "Oh no, that's outdated information. That's what we had at the time. We've since learned that these chemicals more closely resemble other things," and that's their argument, right? And so he says, "Would it surprise you to know that that's on the DEA's website this morning?" Mm-hmm. And she says, "I just don't know why that's there. That's outdated information." There's these three prongs, and I forget what they are, but I'm telling you, we crushed them on 2 out of 3 for sure. We crushed them on 2 out of 3, and I remember when I first hired my attorney, he had said, "Hey, let's hope we get Judge Hurd. He sentences drug cases very favorably. He's got a son who's addicted, and he sentences drug cases very favorably. Let's hope we don't get more due." He's the senior judge in the district. He's a former prosecutor. So of course I get the Honorable Norman A. Mordew. So I'm in a county jail. I have 3 or 4.
You're in the county jail. When did you go into the county jail? When?
So
you interviewed attorneys, you got your attorney, you had you pled guilty, you have an evidentiary hearing. Why are you in the county jail?
Yeah.
Why didn't they let you stay out until?
They had let me stay out from the original time. So I hire George. We go in. I do the original plea with the stipulation that we'll argue the evidentiary hearing later down the road. And at the time, oh man, I was taking all kinds of pills. Just whatever. It was pretty crazy at the time. Overweight, just going nuts, making tons of money, not thinking too much. And when I was out, I had gotten pulled over in a gas station parking lot, and I had 2 of them on me. And they ended up, I stayed overnight in the local city jail for that, got out the next morning. They came and got me literally a day or 2 later. The feds did.
The feds
70 marshals, you're revoked.
Because you're coming right now. You were on pretrial release until sentencing, and that violated your pretrial release.
Violated it. You're done. You're getting put in as of today. So that's what brings me to this county jail. I end up having, our evidentiary hearing is getting pushed off. So I'm in one county jail. I'm in originally Oneida County jail, and then Oneida County fails to produce me for a hearing. Judge gets pissed off and says, "No, bring them to this one." So brings me to Cayuga, one that's closer, because keep in mind, Oneida's 45 minutes away from Syracuse. So they bring me to the one that's closer. I have the evidentiary hearing from there. I have 2 or 3 guys in my unit that are dying and waiting on seeing me because they have the similar cases, and now they're trying to do this to everybody. So there's a lot of people that are wondering what's happening with these hearings. Whose side are they going with? I come back with the bad news, and now there's 4 people, all kinds of,
Wait, you lose the evidentiary hearing?
I lose the evidentiary hearing. I get a thing in legal mail that, hey, we've found with them, whatever. So my lawyer's telling me that, don't worry too much about this. That obviously is terrible, but don't worry about it. We're going to make a pretty good case at sentencing that, you were running a legal business that happened to start selling these products that were, just banned for 16 days before your actual date of arrest. He basically tells me there's this huge case for that. Right. And so we get to sentencing, and no, in the federal system, you have a guideline range, and that's it. That's what they go by. So my guideline range is 87 to 108. I get sentenced to 87 months.
Colby's face. It's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
So it's 8 years, right? What is 87 months?
Yeah.
Do the math.
87 months is 7 years and
change.
3 months. Yeah. So that's pretty tough. And what's crazy is at the time, he's telling me, don't worry, you're going to get RDAP. You're going to get this drug program, which gets you a year off. 6 months of it's going to be in the halfway house. All of these things.
That's all true. Right?
Now, keep in mind, at the same time, right when I am charged federally, literally like a month later, I get raided by New York State because I'm still running all these stores, you know. I get raided by New York State claiming tax evasion, that I'm not paying my sales tax. And I was behind. I was completely not paying attention to sales tax. I had Les Lewis for that case. I gave him a check for $187,000 to go perfect with it. But what they did was they basically said, hey, these first couple years where we don't have accurate returns from you, we're going to assume that you were making the same numbers these couple years as you were in the last ones. You know, which is nuts because, you know, it picked up heavier and heavier as we went. So they said that I underpaid $500,000 in sales tax, which is absolutely not true.
Right.
I paid them. I did an accurate accounting and paid them. But so when they come in, they're basically saying, hey, we can run this consecutive to your federal time. But they're saying, listen, you just plead guilty to it and we'll agree to run this concurrent with your federal time. So I'm thinking, got to plead guilty to it. I'm already in federal custody. No problem, right? So I go plead guilty, and the judge says, I'm not going to accept this 2 to 4 that you've agreed on. No, this is $500,000. Grand larceny, it goes from $3,000. The grand larceny could be as little as $3,000. This is the way upper end of this. And says, so I end up getting sentenced to a 2 to 6 instead of a 2 to 4. And this matters a lot. It runs concurrent.
You don't get the RDAP if you've got the second charge, right? You don't get the year off.
So I had a detainer. So because I had a detainer from New York State, not only did I not get RDAP, because you can't go into RDAP if you have a detainer, but I also got no halfway house time. I was done with New York State. All 6 years had maxed in November of 2017, and my release date was May 21st of 18. They did not send the paperwork to remove my detainer till May 2nd or 3rd, like 2 weeks before I got out. So I had and then they offered to put me in for the halfway house. I had 3 weeks to go. You offered right now, you're going to submit paperwork right now. I have 3 weeks. I'm going home. So I never got any of that. But as during my sentence, they came out with a law. They called it drugs -2. Okay. So drugs -2 was everybody who had a drug case, your sentencing guideline went down by 2 levels. So you got what that new number was. So I called my attorney, asked him what was happening. He said, no, they're not going to bring anybody back for it. They're just going to run through and do everybody's. I get legal mail one day saying, hey, your sentence has been reduced to 70 months. Boom. Nice. Yeah, real. So, but I knew I had it coming. Everybody knew you had it coming. Unless you were unless you had been a career criminal or something else. They had 2 caveats that you wouldn't get it, but I got it. So, and we're getting to the end of it there. But listen, the person that I was in whenever I started this in this county jail, the person that I was compared to the person I was when I got out after doing 60 plus months in federal prison, as you know, it's completely different. Federal prison, it's pretty crazy. Like I say, so I had, the minute I got to federal prison and you tell people I got 87 months, in your mind, that's a huge number. You saw what he just did, 87 months, want to throw up, right? Yeah. They're like, yeah, whatever. That's go, be out in no time.
It's not worth unpacking.
What are you even worried about? Why are you even upset right now? It's like 87 months. So, it's pretty crazy how some of those people are. But, so I lose the evidentiary hearing. I'm sick. They come and get you real quick, too. As soon as you get sentenced, we make this huge argument. I stand up. I'm real nervous. I'm bumbling and blah, blah, blah. what I don't even remember what the hell I said at my sentencing, but whatever it wasn't good enough. So I get sentenced to 87 months. We're going through, I go to a couple different little county jails, to something in Albany County Jail. Then I go to MDC Brooklyn. This is my first taste of federal prison, right? So this is MDC Brooklyn is an 8-story building with 8,000 inmates in this place. And it's crazy looking. You drive right through downtown Manhattan to go get in this thing. You're on a bus. You're seeing real people doing real things. And you've been in a cement bunker for, a year. And, so I get to MDC Brooklyn and it's like, wow, this is pretty crazy. So first night, they're just, you go in, you go see medical, dental, you go see all these different people. And so I get done with all the medical stuff, and they're about to put people in cells, and they're just taking people as they come in a line. All right, you two go in here, you two go in here, you two go in here. So there's this, the two in front of me are a black dude with dreads and a white dude who is tattooed from his wrists to his neck with a big red cross on his neck, all tattooed up. And the black guy with the dreads is like, I'm not going in there with him. Are you nuts? You're going to put, and the guy's like, listen, you're going in there, you two together, you're going in there. He's like, I'm not. And even the other dude's like, no, man, what are you, crazy? And this guy, and they're telling him, listen, go get the lieutenant. I don't care. I'm not selling with him. I don't care. He's getting ready to call. I say, you know what? I'll go in with him. So I go in with this white dude. This is my first night in MDC Brooklyn. And this dude is crazy, right? This is a fun story, right? So listen, I go in there. This guy is in the middle of serving a 20-year sentence in Oklahoma State Prison. Okay. So he's in Oklahoma State Prison. He's gang related, all this stuff. He stabbed somebody, got 20 years. He's in all these gangs. He's doing real prison time with real prison people, right? And he was in the shoe, and he used to tell me, he said, I can get a phone anywhere I'm at. I'm always getting these phones, and I get a butt-friendly phone. And I'm like, butt-friendly? Yeah, you boof it. And I'm like, you boofed a phone? Oh, yeah, that's nothing. I get through the metal detectors, all this stuff. He's in the shoe with a phone. Well, he had a previous cellie that was gay, and they had a phone with his cellie, but out on the unit, and they were calling all these like gay chat lines. This guy was in all these. They were in newspapers at this time. They were calling through all these newspaper ads. They were calling these places, and they were extorting people. So he would go and he would call people and say all this crazy stuff to him, flirt with him, this, and this. Then he would call them back and say, hey, listen, this is Detective Ronald Sanders. You've just used an FCC communications device to solicit a minor. You're in big trouble, blah, blah, blah. And he would get people to pay him money and send money to people out on the streets. So crazy. So they're doing this. He's in the shoe. He's doing this. He's calling this guy. Well, he gets a guy from Connecticut who is gay. He goes through the whole rigmarole with him, and the guy is gay and is scared to death that his mom is going to find out. That's his one big thing. Cannot find out that I am gay, and it's huge. So he's calling him. He's extorting this dude. He got this dude to send $25,000 cash in a shoebox to his girlfriend. He has got this guy sending him cash all the time, telling him, I'm telling you, you're going to go to jail. You're going to be busted, blah, blah, blah. They got like $300,000 from this guy whose parents are loaded, who's living in Connecticut. And he leaves the shoe, and he leaves it to this other guy and tells him, give me a piece of the money that you get. You're going to pay me for what happens, but I'm going to leave this guy to you. You just introduce yourself as my supervisor. Keep it up. Trust me, this guy's good. He's going to send money, blah, blah, blah. So he does all that. He leaves the shoe. The next guy gets on the phone with the guy, tells him all this crazy stuff, and the guy's not telling him he's not going to. Got a little bit of money at him, trying not to give him money anymore. He says, I'm on your street right now. I'm coming to your house. You're going to jail today. Hangs up on him. So he's trying to play tough with the guy. The guy goes upstairs and offed himself.
Oh my God.
Because he did not. He couldn't have his mom know. And so they come in, they find the whole story, they're getting records. Find out that somebody is in a state prison and doing this. So now it's federal. They come in, he's being brought to court in Connecticut to answer for this, right? That's That's this guy's story.
Right.
This is my first night in. This is this guy's story. Wow. Okay. This is the kind of people we're going to hang with. All right, I guess. And he's doing all these other things too. He's doing, he was telling me the stories from the streets before he killed somebody and went to jail. He was doing some crazy stuff that was fun. He did a bunch of rental insurance scams. He would
this is the completely tattooed guy.
Tattooed from here. I mean, this guy, you take one look at him and this guy's like,
but he was good on the phone.
AB or something crazy. Yeah, he's obviously very charismatic on the phone, I guess, right? So, but he's doing everything on the streets. His story is just crazy. His whole life is just crazy. Doing rental insurance scams. He scammed his own girlfriend, robbed his own house, had her claim it on the rental insurance, and told her after. Yeah, but I got his money, right? Claimed jewelry, all this crazy stuff. Yeah, who hasn't done that one, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that gives me a view of what I'm in for, right? And then to make it even crazier, so that's the first night. Now you go upstairs to your unit. So once you pass your medical, everything, you go up to your unit. So I go up to the 7th floor, literally second day. And I go up to the 7th floor, and right when I get there, when you get into a unit, people are kind of wondering, what are you all about? Especially when you're like a guy like me, they want to know if you're a chomo. There are all kinds of different stuff. They want to know what's your case? What are you doing here? What's up? They're asking all this stuff. And so I'm telling, my case is a little rare. It's not often to see people that have a similar case to mine. So this guy, young guy, comes right to me. Hey, I heard you've got an AM 2201 case. And I said, yeah. So he starts asking me some questions. And really, he's asking me so he can, because people will send him over. Hey, see if that guy's really here for that. Ask him some questions. See if that's, if his story matches up, if that's right. So originally it's just that. But then once he realizes that's what I'm there for, he is doing the same thing. He has an evidentiary hearing. And this poor guy, so mine was 8,000 grams. His case is like 250,000 grams. It's like, I'm telling him, he's like, so what happened? I tell him the whole story of the evidentiary hearing. And I'm like, yeah, no, and I lost. And he's doing the math on his, like, carry the one, fuck, like, not good. Crazy number. And so, I depressed him for a little bit, but, so he kind of heard my story and he's like, yeah, Ross Albright's here. And I go, the guy from Silk Road? And he's like, yeah. So I'm like, oh, sweet. So we sit down with him, play a little cards. Now, Ross was, his attorneys were very smart. They told him, do not discuss your case with anyone, anytime, any reason, ever. So me not knowing, he's already told everybody this and made this very clear. So I'm sitting down playing cards. So I want to know, is this Silk Road guy? Let me ask him some questions. So I asked him about that and, what was going on. He's like, listen, in front of everyone, my lawyer said not to discuss my case at all. Oh, all right. That was kind of crazy. It's this is a guy who's in the national media. They're trying to give this guy a life sentence, which they did. And, here he is in the same unit as me. So it's like a wake up to jail. And this guy had double bunked. Everybody's double bunked but him. His top bunk is full of books, the whole thing all the way. So I'm like, great. I used to joke with him that, I got to have my library card kind of deal, and I just go and borrow books in the same unit as him for a couple of weeks, but that just lets you know, that's like a prequel to what you're about to see here. So I go from MDC Brooklyn to, where did we stop? Cannon, and you don't know where you're going, and all of a sudden, bus stops at Allenwood. Allenwood is a complex, has a penitentiary, a medium, and a low. So stops there. Boom, I'm getting off. I'm going to the medium. All right. So I go to Allenwood Medium. First night I'm there, I go up. They assign you a unit, and I'm on my way to the unit. I run into this guy, Tim, that I was in the county jail with. Now, this guy is, this guy's nuts, right? This guy is crazy, like white power, racist kind of guy. He has a tattoo going all down his arm with a bunch of grenades, and it says 6 million more down his arm. So this guy is a crazy lunatic, right? But it's crazy that I see him because when I was I was originally in Oneida County Jail, and that's where I met him. So I don't know this guy from a hole in the wall. I met him there. Well, I had not been produced for a hearing, so I go over to Cayuga County Jail. When I'm in Cayuga County Jail, I'm with two co-defendants of his. One of them, guy's name is Terry. He's literally going to trial while I'm there. And Tim is taking the stand in his trial against him.
Right.
He's literally got like all the stuff from it. He's got witness lists, all this stuff, because you can't really call somebody out like that and not be able to. He's like, look, he's telling all these crazy facts. And so when you're on your way to go to federal prison, you're hearing all this stuff about you better have your paperwork straight and you need your sentencing minutes and you're this and that. And so I get to a medium, which is crazy because it's a lot rougher than the lows. And as soon as I get there, the first guy I see, I know this guy testified against somebody else. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? So he's very weird because he knows I went to Cayuga County Jail. He knew the whole story. And he's like, hey, what's up, man? You need anything? I'm going to talk to the store guy in your unit, all this. He's happy to help. And he's like, yeah, so you're on a 10-minute move. So I got to keep going. I got to keep it moving. And so I'm just talking to him briefly. And he's like, come out to the yard tomorrow. We got to walk the track together. We got to talk, And
I got to make sure you're not going to say anything.
Yeah, that's his worry, And he's got to, because you never know, that bus shows up, who's on it. They know my dirty little secret that I've been, cooperating on somebody, whatever else. And so I'm like, damn, man. And this is nuts because I get to my unit and he is, in jail, there's, you got your car. So I am a white guy from upstate New York. So my car's 8 guys on the compound. White guys from upstate New York. It's not a lot. And he's running the car. And so, wow. Okay. So that's pretty crazy.
Nobody knows.
Absolutely nobody knows. And I'm getting there. That's, first of all, I don't want to fight this. This guy's nuts. This guy's jacked up. He's crazy. And I'm going, wow, this is a crazy predicament. So long story short, I never say anything. I don't tell nobody about this guy. I don't give a shit. I'm getting there. This is none of my business.
Does he ever address it to you? Like, did you hear something? Or
when we go and we walk the yard, he's asking me questions, trying to pry who you're with, all that. Now, I'm not telling him I know because I don't even want to get into that.
Right.
He asked me flat out, was Terry there? Because he took the stand against Terry. And so he's asked flat out, was Terry there? And I'm like, yeah, he was there. And, but no, he never, that was it. Somebody else was in his case. So I knew a few people in common. And, these guys were all not, he's doing crazy stuff. But so I get to the unit at the medium. And the medium is a crazy deal. So the first speech you get, whoever's in the unit, they come up to you, you got to get your paperwork. These guys were really on that, want to know who's who, and they tell you basically you got to get your sentencing minutes because in the federal system, you have a guideline range, and if the judge goes above or below that guideline range, he has to state for the record, why he went above or below that guideline range. So they tell me you got to get your sentencing minutes in. It's got to come straight from your lawyer. Get it sent in here, and when you see your name on the sign for legal mail, you go get somebody. They'll go pick it up. So that's what I do. I tell them, hey, legal mail's here, my stuff's here. So, and they're telling me I knew how to play pinochle. So there's very few guys that I could relate to in this unit, but Vinny Giattino's there. Vinny is Vinny's middle, late 60s, old mob-related guy. 5 life sentences, killed 60 people, okay? This guy killed 60 people. And what's funny is, at the time I'm there, there's a book going around the unit called The Butcher, and it's about his co-defendant, Tommy Karate, who's in Allenwood Penitentiary, and him. And so I get there. I know how to play pinochle. He's like, yeah, come there. You gotta get, as soon as you get your paperwork in, as soon as I do, you got like 6-man cells. I get right in a 2-man cell. My cellie is a guy called Johnny B, another related guy. He's fun as hell. But so me, Johnny B, Vinny, we're playing pinochle every day. That's all Vinny wants to do. He's got 5 life sentences. He's got nothing better to do. He got away from the penitentiary. His goal is to be left the fuck alone and play pinochle every day and let this time pass, right? And so he's sort of a jail mentor to me at this time. So, so this is like a lesson in, hey, this is what it's going to be, right? Now, at the same time, my personal life is going to shit because now I've been in jail a little over a year. And my wife at the time had come to see me a few times, but you knew that was coming, answering the phone less and less,
Yeah.
some things are coming. So she's out. And then like a few days after I get to the medium, I get on the phone with my buddy Jay, and he's like, yeah, she's pregnant.
wow.
She's pregnant already. I was, oh, great. Here we go. Right. So you got that sick feeling, but that kind of motivates you. I'm doing tons of push-ups. I'm getting in shape. I was a fat ass when I went in. I'm doing great. Letting that, obviously that's sickening, but you're letting that motivate you, So I had about a year of this, right? And Vinny was just the entertainment for you. Tried to get me not to go over to the low. You got like a review every year. Vinny is literally, this guy is one of the most entertaining people I've ever seen. I would ask him, you got to get comfortable with somebody. I learned very early, you don't ask somebody how much time you got.
Right.
The first time I go to this guy's telling me he's from Utica. Yeah, my case is from Utica too. He's close behind me, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, how much time you got? He's like, life plus 88. Oh, you're like foot in mouth. You learn very early. Probably should stop asking that question. Yeah. And then I'm coming there with poor me. I got 87 months. These people are hearing 87, and it sounds like a vacation to them. They're like,
these guys are
87 months. Go stand in the corner on your head. Yeah, this will be over before you know. What are you doing? Yeah. Vinny always talked to, what are you doing? It'll be over before you know it. Forget about her. Forget about all that stuff. You're fine. Sit right here. We'll play pinochle. You're fine. That was Vinny's attitude towards everything. So I got comfortable with Vinny, and I would ask him questions like, what would you do if they let you out? You all of a sudden got out tomorrow. What would you do? And most people would tell you some sort of life plan. He's like, oh, a few people would be real scared of that, kid. I'll tell you right now. He's like, there's a couple people. He's like, there's a couple people. I'll be at the door with a shotgun. And as a matter of fact, guy right now owes me money. And I tell you, you don't want to see me. I'll tell you that much, And he was just very matter of fact. I remember when I first got there, I'd go up to his cell and he would point, you see this bed right here? I'm going to die in that bed right there, right? So don't fuck around. I don't need, I came here to have the peace from the politics that go on over there, but I'm not going to be disturbed in this. It's going to be a problem. This is it. So that's just the kind he was. But he was a riot. So I tell you, the book's going around the unit. And so he's like, I said, hey, I heard there's a book going around about you. And he's like, yeah, did you read it yet? I'm like, no, but I will, So now I'm reading the book about a guy who is a serial killer for all intents and purposes, basically working.
Are you in the cell with him? Is this your cellie? Or
no, but there's only 3 Italians there. So I'm selling with Johnny B, who's the other guy playing pinochle with us. There's only 3 Italian. Vic Arena's the other Italian guy that's there.
Listen to these names.
Yeah. So Vic Arena's the other guy that's there. Vic is old, almost wheelchair old. And there's 8 Italian guys on the whole compound. These guys keep to themselves. Now, by no means am I in with the Italian guys, but I'm hanging with them and playing pinochle with them every day. So I'm not really a part of their car or their group, but there's very little people that will come in. And literally the fact that I knew how to play pinochle and plus had money to gamble. Vinny's the best pinochle player I've ever played against in my life. I probably lost $500 to this guy. We played for quarters and he smoked me. I literally bought him something from the store every week, bought him something so he loved me. It's his little entertainment. He's got 5 life sentences. It's nothing happening for him. So I'm what's happening for him at that time. So I'm talking to him every night. It's literally I worked at Unicor. So I go to Unicor. As soon as I find out I can do Excel spreadsheets and stuff, I'm in the business office at Unicor. As soon as I get out, it's pinochle the rest of the night, all the way to 10 o'clock count. And everything in between. I literally cooked with these guys. Vinny was the best cook I ever seen. This guy's already been in 25 years. I mean, it's his story is absolutely crazy. He's pre-87 law. He's 5 life sentences. So man, Vinny would all these Italian guys, they got nicknames, right? His nickname was Kojak. And so I said, hey, why'd they call you Kojak? And he's like, because I always get my guy, He's like, just the way he talks, because I always get my guy, And I said, well, how come they don't call you Kojak in here? Everybody else still has whatever their street name was. Right. They're still being called that in here. And he leans over and he goes, they're still looking for that guy. Tells you the kind of guy that he is. He's just a riot. The medium is a little different atmosphere. Tough to be in because you're locked in every night. A lot of lock-ins. One thing happens, you're done. My year comes up. I'm dying to get over to the low, you know.
Why did they send you to a medium to begin with?
I had an assault. This kid, Matt Pritchard, this kid lived next door to my sister. My sister was being an asshole, being loud as hell, but just a terrible neighbor. And he pushed in her door. My mom's there, and he pushed my sister, spit in my mom's face. Like, this kid did some crazy. So I was drunk leaving a bar, early 20s. All I did was hang out in bars. I was drunk leaving a bar, and I had a little bat that I carried in the car, and I gave him 17 staples in the back of his head. You know, I did actually plead guilty to a felony for that one. That was a rough one. That was early life before all this craziness, you know. But yeah, I gave him 17 staples. So that charge, I had a detainer that boosts your points up.
That sent you to the medium.
Yeah, so I had and I had, I think, 15 points. I think it's 14, you go to the low. I had like one or two too many. I was really close on the line.
Yeah, I came in with 2 points.
Oh,
and because of a detainer,
but
and
your
I got
time put you
at the but then the detainer, when the detainer came off, I was like, I think I had 1 or 0, but it still didn't matter. Like every time I when I went to the medium, every time you talk to a counselor, they'd be like, "Why are you here?" They're like, "I don't understand." Oh. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna be here for a little bit." And I was there for like 3 years, and as soon as I got to 20, they're like, "We got to get you out of here."
Yeah. Oh,
I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to leave.
You know? Yeah.
I didn't want to leave because
it's very nerve wracking.
Well, because everybody goes to the low, and it's open bay, and then they come back, and they're like, "Bro, it sucked because it's loud."
Yeah. And they tell you there's 600 chomos on that yard. There's 1,200 people. There's 600 chomos. Vinny would tell me all the time, "You don't want to go over there. You'll be right back." What are you, nuts? There's 600 chomos on that yard. They're all rats walking around. There's just nuts. You tell me all this crazy stuff.
This is the thing. Like, I didn't care about the chomo. Like, they keep to themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
to me,
you're never going to be bothered by a chomo ever.
There's no badass chomos.
Yeah, no.
You know? Yeah. I take that back. There was a guy who was like a former Marine, and he beat the shit out of multiple people because guys, he didn't want to be called a chomo. He didn't want to. And guys, every once in a while you get somebody, "Fuck you, you fuck," and he'd be like, "Hey man, back off there. What you gonna fucking do?" And he beat the tar out of him. He actually beat so many guys' asses. Eventually, they shipped him. Other than that, though, and that was because people were attacking him or yelling at him or calling him names or being disrespectful. And other than that, they keep to themselves, and so they didn't bother me and they didn't go in the TV rooms. Like they were excluded
they
from
had
all
no
that
rights, as you would call it. They have no rights to do nothing. You go away.
And I'd say half out of the 1,800 inmates. There's really between 1,800 to 2,000 inmates at the low. Half had charges by the time. Now, when I first got there, I think it was like 1/3, but they keep arresting these guys.
Yeah.
So eventually, and a lot of people were, you would find out, like, because you kind of knew who they were, and you were like, yeah, if you do the numbers, like, it's not, but maybe 20, 25%, maybe 30%, but you start to realize, like, no, wait a minute. This guy is here for a drug case, but he has a previous charge. You see what I'm saying? Like, they had previous charges. So they would be like, "Yo, bro, I'm good. I'm here for this." And they'd be like, "Oh, okay." And then if you start doing the numbers, you go, well, "You shouldn't be here at all." You know what I'm saying? And then you realize, oh, wait a minute. You had another charge from the state, or you had a charge before. This is your second time here. That kind of stuff would, you'd find it. But yeah, it ended, by the time I was done, I'd say it was probably half.
Yeah, but it was half of Allenwood.
What they didn't bother me, what bothered me was it was so... One, I didn't like not having a cell door, closing the door, because it was quiet. And it was so loud all the time. It was always loud. At least in the medium, you got to walk in your door, close your door, and it was quiet. I mean, is that your...
Oh, yeah. And it had to be awkward. So if I wanted to come by, it was awkward for me to come by your cell. But in the low, you're walking right by anyway. So you could just come strike up a conversation, any jerk off, anytime, strike up a conversation. You're trying to read a book or do something different.
But you said, so when you got to the year and you went to the low, did you try and stay in the medium?
No,
or
no.
okay.
So Allenwood medium didn't have weights. I think Allenwood pen is one of the only pens that still has weights. The medium didn't have weights. Somebody threw a weight through a window. They took them from there, and the low had weights. And when I went to jail, like I said, I was doing pills when I first went to jail. I was a fat ass. I didn't care about health at all. I read a great book, Timothy Ferriss, the 4-Hour Work Week from Timothy Ferriss. Then he wrote another book called The 4-Hour Body, and it's all about just hacks on your body. So I read this thing. I increased my bench press. I was benching 320 when I got at Allenwood Low. So I wanted the weights. I wanted to get over. It was all about when I get out. And there's something about your wife leaving you when you're in there. Just something about that I'm gonna, that's sitting on your shoulder. That's great for you to have. You need a chip on your shoulder to make you go out there and kick ass. And that was sort of mine. And and funny story about that. So then I go to the Low, and my buddy Jay's one of my best friends in the world. I talk to him all the time, and I call him, and one of my ex-wife's best friends, she was best friends with this girl for years, is at Jay's house because his girlfriend and her are very good friends. So he says, hey, you want to talk to Katie? I get on the phone with her. We kind of go back and forth a few times. I get her number. I start calling her, start getting a little crazy. You got the emails I'm sending, just getting a little crazier and crazier. She used to be one of my ex-wife's best friends. And we're still together today. And so she was with me the whole rest of the time in the Low, was great, sending in all kinds of stuff, bringing my kids to see me, was a great person to me. And, that makes you feel good chip-wise too, you know? Upgraded. She's so much of a better person. Everything about it is just, that part of it's crazy. But, The Low is a different world, and people don't realize this. It's just crazy. I mean, you're only going over in a little van. I can see the place, and I get my stuff, put it in a bag, and drive over to this little place, but you change a whole world. I tell people that about, like, when you go to the shoe, you think, a month's gone by, you think of how much has happened to you, but basically just go lock yourself in the bathroom for 30 days. That's what I've done. I haven't left these 4 walls for 30 days. It's a whole different world than you're living.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the entire
like
world becomes that prison. Like there gets to a point where it's almost like nothing else exists other than like it's everybody you communicate. Everybody, well, of course you're still communicating with people on the outside, but for the most part, like your whole world is in there. I know exactly. It's insane.
Yeah, and you're like, this is my life. It is, it's different. The day you're going there, it's like you just took up and moved, and you're going to start a new job and a new life and new people, and you just left the old life behind. And so when I go over to the Low, I'm bringing messages from Vinny. So Vinny writes down messages. They know somebody's there. I know I'm looking for a dude, Paulie, when I get there. So I get there,
Paulie,
Anthony,
Tony, Paulie.
So Paulie's who I'm looking for when I get there. First day, I'm going to the chow hall, and I hear this high pitched, "Yo, John!" It's this guy, Quan, very good guy. He's from Rome, New York. I have met 3 people ever in federal prison that were from Rome, New York. Not very common. And I happen to have known this guy for a long time. He's just there for a random drug charge. But as weird as it is, he's there. He's like running the whole blood car in this Low. There's 600 chomos. There's not a lot of people that I'm going to end up hanging out with. And the first person that I know, which is very weird for me to know somebody in here. Like if you came from a bigger city, you'd know a bunch of people. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people that you'd run in contact with. I don't know anybody. Wasn't expecting to know anybody. So that's crazy. So I ask him, hey, I got to find Paulie. I got a message from him from next door. So the guy goes and meets me on the next move. And that's how I get introduced to him. So I give him the message, and he calls over a guy that's in my unit. Hey, this guy's in your unit. He just got here from next door. Make sure he gets whatever he needs, all that kind of stuff. But I got to meet the very few good guys that are there from that are there in the Low. And the Low it's a different animal. It takes some getting used to. There's no TV rooms. The medium I was in, there's not even TV rooms. There's TVs in the center of the units.
Yeah.
That's it. Like you get to the low, and I would tell people this all the time. So you're at the low, there's a bunch of TVs on the wall, and you got a radio, and you're tuning into 103 is that TV, 106.1 is that TV, and you have a headset, and it's a room full of TVs, and you just pull out a plastic chair, and you're watching TV.
At the medium, there were no TV rooms. At the low, there were TV rooms for us.
Right. Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. That's what it was here.
Okay.
Yeah. So at the low, it's weird to get used to because you go in there and you're like, okay, this wasn't there. It's kind of crazy. I could just come in here and watch any show. And TVs are very controlled. Somebody has every TV. Yeah. You're not going to go in there. It's not like I'm going to go, hey, let me just throw this on. No, that's not happening. You got to kind of get in wherever somebody who has similar interests. If you like football, I'll go watch football with you, whatever it is. So, and the TV rooms are they're nuts. People are crazy. This so funny. This guy, so at the low, John Carniglia, John's this great guy. John is actually pre-1987 law. So he's got parole coming up. He's been there. He's been in prison so long. He's got parole coming up. He would tell you he went from the pen to the medium to the low. You go out to the yard and there's a landfill right there, and it's full. It's not even used anymore. And he's like, "Yeah, you see that? That was a lawn when I got here. They built the whole landfill, filled the whole thing over the years, bringing trash, filled it, sealed it, and don't even use it anymore. I've been watching that since that was a flat lawn when I got here." You're like, wow, okay. Yeah. So John's pre-87 law, his co-defendant is Gene Gotti, and he is allegedly the guy that actually shot Paul Castellano, that famous Sparks Steakhouse shooting. He is allegedly, and it's in a bunch of books. And yeah, there was, I think, 3 shooters. It was the driver and Paul Castellano, and he's allegedly one of these guys. So when I tell you this guy, all these Italian guys that got something going on, but this guy's like literally a legend. It's kind of crazy.
So one of the other guys was in the low with me.
Oh, okay.
He was probably in his 60s, gray hair, short, stocky guy. I can't remember his name, but everybody, same thing. They were saying like he was one of the shooters. They all put on the Russian hat. And they all, and he was supposedly one of the shooters. He would never say that, but everybody, that was like the rumor. Of course, I never asked him.
Yeah. Oh, no, you would never ask him that, but he is, he carried himself like that. You could tell this was a guy who's been a legend his whole life. He's a John Gotti, Gene Gotti's his co-defendant. John Gotti's really tight with him. He's, this guy's got stories. Yeah. But what's weird is, so like John's, 74, whatever he is, right? Like he was old at the time. And, you'd think somebody old and not able to defend himself, nobody would ever think of even looking at this guy sideways just because he just carried that kind of respect.
I was going to say, I was also locked up with 2 of the guys that were, what is there's a movie, Donnie Brasco.
Yeah.
2 of the guys that got taken down by the Donnie Brasco thing were in the medium. And the Donnie Brasco would come on TV, and people would be like, hey, Paulie, or hey, Jimmy, hey, they got Johnny Brasco. And these guys would go up, that motherfucker. They'd start screaming and hollering. I mean, sorry.
Yeah. Well, listen, that gives me a flashback. So when I was at the medium, my guy, God, why am I drawing a blank on his name right now? Vinny. So Vinny would do the same exact thing. He was like part of the Lufthansa heist. So like he was like involved in that somehow. And he would do the same thing. This somebody they make look good in the movie. He was a rat. He wasn't this tough guy they make him look in the movie. And
this shit,
yeah, he didn't like any of that shit. He was real furious about that stuff. Oh, they'd have a real wake up. Vinny is rooting for anarchy. He wants like the world to end in the craziest way. He's rooting for something to be so bad that the United States government can't hold him anymore. Like he's looking for craziness in life. And what's crazy is, so after Johnny B left, my next cell, he started to backtrack to the previous prison, but after Johnny B left, I got John Petrocelli. So John Petrocelli was an Italian guy, real cool guy, 45 years old. He had, so John had 6 co-defendants. They had a racketeering case, and there was a homicide in the racketeering case. John was actually the one that stabbed the guy. Well, so the racketeering case, if you have a racketeering case with a homicide, it's mandatory life. They came and offered them 20 years, offered them all 20 years. But with these guys, how it has to be is you all have to take the deal or nobody can. And people don't understand that because when you allocute, you say, yes, I did stab Bob, but I have to say that, hey, I did with you stab Bob, right? You have to implicate somebody else. So these guys can't, they all take a plea or nobody does. So everybody wanted it, but one holdout. They don't take a plea. It's mandatory life. There's no other, it's not a surprise game. There's no guessing what the sentence is going to be. It's a mandatory minimum. So John Petrocelli gets life, and you see the difference between active, lively, Vinny, crazy, blah, blah, blah. And John was just, he'd watch the TV and he'd see a pizza commercial and he'd go, never going to eat pizza again. Yeah. He'd see a girl, I'm never going to have sex again. And he just so down, and he just felt like a burden on everybody. He had such great people, great family coming in, doing all this stuff for him. And he's like, all I'm ever going to be is a burden to people. That's all I'm ever going to do. So you see those people, that's the life you're living there. And there's 200 lifers at Allenwood Medium. There's 200 of these guys there. Then you get to the low. There's none of that. There's none of the mediums. There's people going home all the time. And I don't know what the max sentence is, but it's not a lot. There's not a lot of people sitting there with still 18, 20 years left to go on their sentence when you get to these lows.
At the low, I would say there were a few people that had those outrageous sentences, but only, and we were talking about out of 2,000, there's a couple, and they're old. Yeah. They're like, because they start lowering your points when you get to be 70, 75. They're like,
what's this guy going to do?
This guy's got 20 more years to go, and he's 75. He's dying here, and he's not climbing 2 fences and getting through the barbed wire, and he's not stabbing. He's not hurting anybody. Like, come on, like get him out of the medium. We need that cell for somebody who's truly going to be a problem. So I'd say, it's very, very few, but most people. Like, I think the average sentence at the medium was probably in the 20s, probably 15 to 20. And at the low, it was probably 7 to 10. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's way low.
And yours had to be pretty high, though, right? Like, when you got there, because you had just got under the 20 to go, right?
Mine was I still had 20 to go.
Yeah, so that's crazy, because when you get there, you're telling people 20 years, and you're around a bunch of people that are averaging.
What's worse is when you go to the medium, and you're sitting at a table. At the medium, you don't get to complain at all, because the moment you're sitting there like, yeah, man, I got 26 years for a white collar crime. And you're thinking you're going to get a little sympathy. Because when I first got there, I'm complaining. Like, I realized right away, probably within a month or two, that my cousin said, stop complaining. Like, nobody wants to fucking hear you're complaining. You see that guy over there? He's going to die in here. See that guy? And that's what happened. I was at a table like the first couple of days, and they were like, oh, well, what are you here for? Because they're trying to figure out if you're a Cho or not, right? And I'm like, oh, a bank fraud. I'm like, yeah, I got fucking 26 years for bank fraud. And one guy's got like 45 years. And then this guy has got, 60 years. And this guy's telling me, yeah, I'm going to die in here. I'm leaving here in a box. And you realize, like, fuck, like, this sucks. You know what I'm saying? Like, you guys this is horrible. So and like I said, a few weeks later, I was with my cousin who was locked up, and he was like, yeah, listen, you need to stop fucking complaining, because nobody gives a shit about he was nice about it, but nobody cares about your time. You're going to leave here. A lot of these guys aren't leaving here. And there's a lot of guys there that just aren't leaving, all leaving in like a box.
Yep, and they're all trying to have that level of bravado, like they don't care, but inside, it's inside you're like, oh, geez. And, like the movies make it look crazy, right? So like, there's a lot of like bank robber guys. You're in a movie, they go in, they fire one off into the ceiling just to let them know they mean business, then they go rob the bank. Yeah, that's like an enhancement that's like 60 years on your sentence. Yeah, you run into those guys.
That just changed you possibly getting 10 years to 25 years. Like that little shot that we weren't trying to kill anybody. You weren't trying to 15 years because you fired just to let everybody know you're serious. What if the difference between having a note and having a gun, 3 years, 10 years, 3 years and doing this to show them you have a gun is 10. That's it. So
no.
Like, fuck.
Yeah, I actually met somebody who only got 3. My guy, Ivan. Ivan was nuts. And he was just all messed up on drugs, robbed one bank, got caught. And he went in, he slid the bank teller a note, and then he looks at her and goes, I'm sorry. So she tells the story to him. He apologized to me. He's very nice about it. He was shaking. He sent me a note. No, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry about this. So you get the light ones, but then, that's what happens. People see it on TV. You're doing all stuff. You see somebody do it. You think it's a great idea. You go in the bank, realize you discharge a firearm in the bank. You're getting an enhancement. It's adding 20, 30 years on your sentence. And you run into those guys. That's real. People do that. They're in there going, you're like, wow, that's, it's pretty common, and it's pretty crazy when you're thrust into that. And you're in my situation and you think, 87 months, Jesus, just for, this was legal, 16 days. Everybody justifies whatever the hell you did to yourself, that this is, I've been wrong. This is crazy. I don't belong here. And it's nice to get that rude awakening of like, hey, listen, man, what are you crying about? All these guys are, and when you see the ones that aren't leaving, that'll make you realize it. So the low is much better than that. I found the weights, the moves always happened. 10-minute moves were clockwork. In the medium, it was you'd have a move not go for 3 hours. You didn't know why. You still don't know why. It just move didn't happen for 3 hours.
You know what's funny? You know what moves are, right?
I'm assuming you're like moving from your cells to like the next unit or outside or something. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Well,
Right.
I feel like I've explained this to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like if you have, let's say in Coleman, you had 3 units, 3 big buildings. There's 4 units in each building. So, but there's 3, let's say a big apartment complex. But the rec yard is across the compound, maybe 100 yards or 200 yards across. So you have to walk there. You have to leave your building and you have to walk to the rec yard, or you have to walk to the education, or you have to walk to Unicor, right? So what happens is the compound's closed, like the door's locked. You can't get out. But once an hour for 10 minutes, they unlock the door and then they announce it and they'll go 10-minute move, 10-minute news, move. And the CO will open the door for 10 minutes. And so everybody, all these buildings, people flood out of them, and they're going this way and this way and this way and this way. And you got 10 minutes, because in 10 minutes they're gonna be like, we're closing the compound, and they close the compound. If they close that door and you're still on the compound, then they don't always typically give you a shot, but they'll yell at you. But they'll lock the door, and then you're having to bang on the door to get the guard to open it up, and they might open it up and be like, what are you doing?
No.
So you know what I'm saying? And they might write you a shot like, no, you were the compound was closed and you were outside the door, and they'll write you a shot. You could lose privileges, whatever. But yeah, you have 10 minutes. So it's a controlled movements.
Yeah, and this is an announcement that we're herding these cattle. We're getting everybody to where they have to go, and you have to get everybody back from places. So the last move is they'll announce this is the last move. So if you're on the yard, you better get back for this one. Yeah, because you're not out here anymore. It's not yeah.
Hey, listen, I'll tell you something that was funny. There was a guy that was he was a Cho. I want to say he was. I know what, I shouldn't say that. I don't know. I think he was, and this was at Coleman, and it was almost positive. Like I'm 90% sure he was Cho. He had nowhere to go, right? Like he was. Anyway, I think he was going like to Florida, and at Florida at the time they didn't give them halfway house. So so in Florida, the halfway house is what now they make them do it. Now they have to give it to them. But they called him to R&D to leave, and he doesn't show up. And they called him they called him for hours. Finally, they do a total recall. Everybody has to go back to the unit, and they found him hiding on the rec yard because he had nowhere to go. He's like, I want to stay here. When you release me, I have no money. You guys are basically like, there's nobody even picking me up. You guys are giving me a bus ticket, like to a place to the middle of Chicago where I have nowhere to stay. Like I'm just coming back. And they had to drag him out, drive him to the bus thing, put him on a bus, go, nowhere to go. Like that's a weird.
That reminds you of Shawshank. Yeah, the guy in Shawshank hangs himself because he just didn't know how to deal with real life.
It does, but at least he got on the bus. Yeah. Like this guy wouldn't even leave the prison. Yeah. Like it's funny. I mean, it's sad, but it's funny. I guess it would be. I don't know if it's sad or funny because it's a show, but if it was, but I can imagine a regular guy who's been locked up for 10, 15 years and he has nowhere to go. And some of those guys, 20, 30 years, like everybody's died, given up on them. We talked about this beforehand. People give up on you. They give up on you. You get there, and like we had mentioned that you really figure out, like you've got your group of 20 people that you're surrounded by on the street when you had money and you were a big shot, and you would have said, bro, I got an amazing group of friends. I got, all these people that love me, we're good friends. We're good buddies. Call these guys at any time. They would show up and help me move. They'd do anything, help me change a tire, pick me up. Like, these are good buddies. We always hang out. We go to barbecues. We're good friends. And then you go to prison and you realize that 3 of those guys were friends. And you're probably lucky if you get 3. And out of those 3, if they stick with you for the 6 years, where they still answer your phone call at the end of the 6 years, and I mean friends, not family, but you're probably doing pretty good if 2 or 3 of those guys.
Yeah, and not a lot of people had that.
No.
And that was one of the worst things about seeing the Chomos, too. These guys have bigger circles than anyone you know. Everybody's supporting them, and you're like, it makes you hate your people even worse, because you're like, oh, God, this guy's, a bunch of kids, and he's got a bunch of friends, and, people are writing him, sending him money. I'm here living like a scumbag. I got nothing, and this guy's doing that. I tell people all the time, it's like going to jail makes you realize what would happen if you died. Right. It makes you realize that what would have happened if I would have died on that day instead of just gone to jail. If I'd have died, same thing. I got removed, and some people moved on. Some people, I know the ones that would have grieved, and I know the ones like my ex-wife who would have, whatever, he's gone now. Let's keep going.
I've mentioned this before when people are talking about their wives. I've been like, well, you're typically the only people, and I'm not saying, because who called me? Somebody sent me a text or yelled at me for this. Typically, and actually that's not true. They saw a short. They didn't hear the whole thing. The person that called me, and this is a horrible thing to say. Hopefully they don't have to see this, because it actually applies to them, but they would be upset with me. But it's true. Is that out of the guys I knew, right, during the 13 years, the guys that went into prison, now if it was only a couple of years, maybe you have a 50-50 chance that your wife's going to stick around for a couple of years. Maybe she can hang. If she really was in love with you and cares about you and you have kids, there's probably 50-50 chance she's going to hang around. But let's say you got 10 years. Unless you went to prison and you've got $10 million real estate, and you can keep her in the same lifestyle as when you went in, there's about a 99% chance she's leaving. Like, if you were the breadwinner, and she had a little part-time job, and now she has to go get a full-time job and raise a kid without you, and you can't provide for her, and she's got to go move into a 2-bedroom and get help from her friends, and like, you're done. The marriage is over. You're going to be gone for a minimum of 6 to 7 years. The relationship is one-sided now. There's nothing you can do. You're calling one time a day for 10 minutes, and all you can do is say, can you look this up for me on the internet? Can you mail me a book? Can you tell so-and-so such as such? Like, it's a total one-sided relationship. Maybe you can put your son on the phone, and your wife, you read the email, and you can say, why'd you get into a fight with a kid? Well, you can't do that. You have to do this. So you're just a complainer. You're just give me. It's completely one-sided. So that ruins the relationship. The moment she doesn't answer a phone on a Friday night, the next day, you heard those guys on Saturday morning. Where were you? Why didn't you answer the phone? That's horrible. So those relationships are done. But the only people that maintained their marriages were people that had $10, $20 million when they came into prison, were able to keep their wife in the lifestyle they were accustomed to. And those wives typically stayed. Other than that, those relationships were doomed. They were just over. They were done. And I had met a guy that had been to federal prison before when I first got locked up. This is funny. I think I've told this story before, but you'll get this. What this guy did was, I was being held in a private, like a geo or so, like a private facility. And I was there with him. He was my cellie, and every day he was getting a letter or two, and he'd open it up. and he'd see, this is when you could get photos sent in. He'd see the photos and he'd go, and he'd tear them up and throw them away. And I mean, I'm sitting there in the cell, and I'd be like, I go, who'd you get a letter? Oh, you get a letter? What's going on? And he'd go, oh, yeah, it's my ex-girlfriend. And I go, oh, wow, bro, she's beautiful. You're lucky. He'd go, no, that's my ex-girlfriend. And he'd be like, yeah, thanks. She was very pretty. He'd tear them up and throw them away. And then he'd take the thing and he'd throw it away. And this went on. I was there for 2 weeks. He's getting at least 1 or 2 letters a day. And I went, bro, this chick is fucking, she is writing like every day. He's, yeah, I know. She's upset. And I was like, why? He said, well, we had been dating for about 4 years. I've been in prison before. I did like 5 years before. Got out. He said, I actually had a regular job. He said, and I was driving a vehicle with a buddy of mine, and I knew we were driving drugs. He's like, I don't know why I wasn't really involved in the drug thing, but I did drive him. Because we got pulled over, the drugs are in my car. He said, we got in trouble. We both got indicted, whatever. He said, and I pled guilty and I'm getting 3 years. And that was it. Like, he had 3 years. It was something along those lines where he was getting like a mandatory. Maybe he had a gun in the car. So I forget what it was, but I think it got 5 years. He goes, but I'm probably going to do about 3-4 years. And I was like, he's like, so I broke up with my girlfriend. And I went, why? He said, well, he said, you haven't really experienced this yet, but you're going to notice that the guys that have the hardest times are the ones that are trying to maintain a relationship on the street. He goes, and you'll see these guys on the phone, just their guts are getting ripped out every day. They're calling their wives, screaming, where are they? Where were you last night? Why didn't you answer the phone? He goes, I mean, it's agony. He goes, and I'm not going to go through that. He goes, I'm not going to do that to myself. So I explained to her, I'm going to go to prison. I'll be out in about 3.5 years. And if you're single when I get out, we'll get back together. But if not, we won't. And in the meantime, I think you should find somebody else. You're a beautiful girl. I don't want you to waste 3.5 years waiting for me. I don't want you to come see me. Don't write me letters. He goes, and he'd been locked up like a month or two. He'd just gotten here waiting to go to going to his final prison. Like, he'd been sentenced. Like, he'd been locked up 6 months while he's waiting. Like, this had been going on for months. He'd only been here a little bit. He was in the county jail before that, or the marshal's holdover. Like, she's still writing every day. He's like, yeah, she's really upset. And I was like, bro, it sounds like she's going to wait. He goes, I know, it seems like that. He said, man, she's 22 or 21 or whatever. She's a pretty girl.
She'll get over it.
He's like, she's going to find somebody else. He said, I don't want to do that. He was very pragmatic about the situation.
Exactly.
He may have been wrong. He may have been wrong, but he knew that he was like, even if she waited, he goes, if she waited, it may even be worse. He goes, I'd be laying in bed. I'd be one of these guys. And he was just super, like, very matter of fact. Like, he knew he'd been in before. He'd seen what had happened. He wasn't going to do that. He wasn't going to do it to her. He wasn't going to do it to himself. And I always thought to myself, like, that he probably was the most sane person that I'd met that was handling it probably the best way for him. And honestly, probably the best way for her too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And he just didn't want to roll the dice on that. Didn't want to roll the dice on, maybe she sticks around. Maybe she goes all the way through it. Maybe she doesn't. But I've had that, and I know the peace that comes with, okay, that's over. There's nothing in the street to worry about. Now, when you have kids, there's always that part of it to worry about, but everything's out of your control. The sooner you get to that realization that this is out of your control, the better. Yeah.
Right.
And it's a stress reliever, and it lets you say, all right, now I'm going to improve myself, right? Which obviously you did. I'm going to read as many books as I can. I'm going to learn and try to do as many things to improve myself. And some people, it's crazy, but some people need jail. It's part of your story. You embrace it and you say, hey, look, I was a complete asshole before.
Yeah, I was a douchebag before. Like, I'd still be, listen, trust me, I loved being a douchebag. I'd still be a douchebag. If I could have maintained it, I would have maintained it. There was nothing changing me. Like, when the cops showed up, I'm just going to another place. Like, I'm just kind of like I'm changing the formula. Yeah. I'm getting indicted, or I'm getting a charge. I'm on probation. I'm just switching it up. Continue the fraud. The cops show up to raid the offices. Like, I take off. I commit more fraud. I know it's coming down. I go to another location. Like, at any point, I could have stopped and said, let's go ahead and fix this now before it gets to be too insane. I just kept thinking, they'll never catch me. They'll never catch me. They'll never catch me. By the time they do catch you, now you've dug such a fucking hole. but only a lunatic does that.
Right.
Only a lunatic does that.
Yeah. Well, and so you still think the same thing, right? You still think that you would
I would have kept going and going. Is that what you?
Yeah, no, I mean, like, you think that you could easily be in that life if some things had changed? You're like, yeah, I loved being that.
Of course, I loved committing fraud. Like I've never lied about that. I daydream about it to this day. You know, if I didn't have things I got out and things went, and I expected things to be tough. Things went so well for me, but I used to say that if things tanked, that I would commit fraud again. Like if things got so bad where I'm riding the bus and I'm working a horrible job and I can't pay my rent and I'm barely hanging on and like it's like, you know, one bad paycheck and you're sleeping on the street. If you sleep hot at night, you know how disruptive that can be. Whether you're having trouble falling asleep, you're waking up sweating in the middle of the night, or all of the above. That's where GhostBed can help. As the makers of the coolest beds in the world, GhostBed is your go-to for cooling mattresses, cooling pillows, and cooling bedding. From their signature Ghost Ice fabric to patented technology that adjusts to your body's temperature, every Ghost Bed mattress is designed with cooling in mind. So whether you want a plusher mattress that cushions your shoulders and hips, or a firm option with exceptional support, your Ghost Bed will keep you cool and comfortable all night long. When you purchase a Ghost Bed mattress, your comfort is guaranteed. You can try out your mattress for 101 nights, risk-free, to make sure it's the right fit for you. Plus, they offer free shipping, and most items are shipped within 24 hours. If you're not sure which Ghost Bed is right for you, check out their mattress quiz. You'll answer a few questions and get a personalized recommendation. Even better, our listeners can get 50% off site-wide for a limited time. Just visit ghostbed.com/Cox and use the code COX at checkout. Again, that's ghostbed.com/Cox with the code COX at the checkout to save a whopping 50% off site-wide. Like if I got to that point where it was just so bad, nothing was working, like, yeah, my go-to move would probably be, I'm not going to lie, it would be fraud. Like I did, you know, listen, there were fraud. It's not so bad now because now I focus mostly on YouTube and writing and things like that now. But there were years, 2-3 years out of prison. I'm driving by a vacant house and I'm thinking, that'd be nice. Yeah, it's a nice house. I noticed nobody's living in that house. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I'm laying in bed at night, you know, calculating, but luckily everything, you know, just being doing the right thing worked out, you know, and there's a certain amount of luck. Things could have gone bad, but I was very same thing, pragmatic, very reasonable with my expectations of life. It was very low. You realize in prison, like, I don't need much to be happy.
Yeah,
I was
that's
way
such
happier.
a good thing.
Yeah.
I wish that on a lot of people, that you could feel that feeling that what really matters to you. Because it goes back on what I was just saying. You feel like you died and you could go look back on that death and see who was there for you and who wasn't. And it also lets you, just personally wise, when everything's taken from you, what is important. Right. And you start to get an understanding of that. And
appreciation of those.
Having an appreciation for the small things in life is really good. Now
It sounds so silly, right? It's the same shit your dad said to you. Yeah. It's the same stuff that you shrug off. My whole life I've been like, but the whole money doesn't buy happiness. That's like, the fuck out of here. Only poor people say that. Like I had all the little things. I was like, yeah, white, whatever. And then you go to prison and you know what poor is, and you know what having nothing is. Not even your freedom. You've got nothing, and you start to realize, like, some of my best moments were in prison. My happiest times were in prison. You start to realize that, and you're like, this is insane. I have nothing, and yet I'm so happy, so content.
And you've seen that there are a lot of people with it worse. And that's a great life lesson too. All these guys that lifers, I'm going to die right here in this bed, you know, and hey, I've got a date. I'm going to get out of here. I am going to turn it around. When you want it to be, this is going to be a part of your story, but it's not the whole story.
Right.
The ending hasn't been written yet, and what's in the middle. I always tell people it's like Life's a lot like poker in that way. Poker's just such a great analogy for life. Sometimes you put all your chips in and you lose, and you need luck. You need some other things. There's a lot of things that have to happen. You go to the end of a poker tournament and talk to the person that won, and they're telling you about 10 crazy hands and luck and good decisions, luck, and you have to stack that one after another. One bad move, you lose them all. Mm-hmm. But if you just continue playing great hands and doing the right thing, it's going to come along.
Yeah.
So it's crazy how you learn that, right? It's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good thing to have.
Yeah. I was going to say it's funny too, because I never met one guy in prison that when he was at his lowest missed his Maserati, or nobody ever missed this. No, you never heard somebody say, "Man, bro, I fucking miss driving my Ferrari, bro." It was always like my kids, all the people and things that you took for granted before is the thing that you miss at your lowest point in prison. And all those things that you thought were so important, you realize, like, I don't even think about that. I don't even think about that car. I don't even think about that house. I've never once thought about going on a vacation I miss my wife. I miss my kids. Those are the things that and yet they were so available when you're out there, you just didn't appreciate them. So, I think it helps you reset your priorities. And if you're lucky, you stick with that. And if you're kind of a shit, then you probably lose that at some point. Everybody starts to lose it. You have to kind of I think you have to every once in a while give yourself a little talk and say, hey, get your fucking head out of your ass. You're in a good position. So let that guy cut you off, in traffic. Give a fuck. What's it going to cost me? An extra 12 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds? Like, I don't care. I pull over. I'm driving a little too fast. I get a ticket. I'm lucky I'm driving at all. I'm happy to pay that ticket. Yes, sir, officer. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to I think every once in a while I have to remind myself, like, you're lucky to be here.
Yeah. And there's a great saying that I always try to remember to myself. And it's like, if you let words bother you and stress you out, that is just the worst thing you can do. And everybody will have control over you. Because if you allow just words to do it, that everybody can speak words. You will allow everybody to have control over you. And the sooner you can take a deep breath and let things pass, and having been through what we've been through, it's so much easier to do that, to take a deep breath, reset, and it's going to be real hard to get back to your low point. Things have to take a real crazy turn to get back to your low point.
Yeah.
And the ability to get back to where you were and better, to rewrite the ending, you have that now, for me, the goal is always, for me, is to get fuck you money. People always ask you, when's it enough? When is, you had all this money, millions, this, that, when is it enough? When I have fuck you money, that's when it's enough. Right. And what is that? Like there's an article written about me. They called me the Donald Trump of synthetic drugs. Right. And which is crazy because, like, at the time, he wasn't president. He wasn't, he was an entrepreneur, a rich guy. And I followed him on Twitter because guess what? The guy has always had fuck you money, has always been able to say whatever he wants to say. And that's the goal. When you have a private plane and some fuck you money, that's where it's at. Now, I may, in my life now, want to get there a different way, but that's the goal, right? Yeah. So they write this story, and they just assume, because I follow him, Rand Paul, like, they assume because I follow these guys that I'm a libertarian that doesn't give a shit about the laws, and, again, Donald Trump of synthetic drugs. So I'm, Donald Trump's an entrepreneur. He's not that's crazy. Before he was even president, these guys are trying to blast him and blast me for being a person that follows him. But there's something to be said for that. Is that not the goal?
Right. Yeah, it'd be nice.
It'd be nice, but when everybody says, when is enough enough? When will you say you've got there? That's it. I don't think
I was going to say, I don't know. It's like someone who said, you ever hear these guys, if I won the lottery, I'd quit my job. If I won the lottery, I don't think if I had $20 million, I think that Colby would be here next Tuesday and we'd be doing a fucking, you know what I'm saying? Like, I like my life.
Yeah.
I don't think that money would. I'd have a car.
Nicer car, nicer house. That's it. Still do the same thing every day.
I told my wife one time, like I optioned my life rights, and she goes, "What if they make a movie? Like, what if you make a bunch of money? What if this happens?" And I went, "I don't think much would change." And she goes, "You don't think so?" I said, "Well, I think we'd have a little bit nicer house, and I think we'd have a little bit nicer cars, but I don't think anything would change because I'm doing everything I like right now."
Right.
I think anything change.
Yeah, maybe a little less interviews and just only pick the very best.
Yeah. Like I mean, probably would up our game a little bit. I'd have a little bit more time to maybe scroll on TikTok. Like what's going to change? I'm going to go on vacation an extra day. Like honestly, if you go to the Keys, 4 days is enough.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The truth is like, I'm going to go on 2 weeks. You've been on a 2-week vacation? Brother, you better be traveling because you can't go to Venice. You could probably go to Venice. There's a lot of museums in Venice. But I don't think 2 weeks is too much. You better be traveling. You know what I'm saying? Like you can only vacation so much before it gets to be a pain in the ass. And you're like, I just want to go home for 6 months or something. And even then, what are you going to do? If you don't have a job, what are you going to do? Sleep late? Catch up on my Netflix? Okay, there's 2 months. Now what? Like, no, I think it'd be, now what? I got to start my YouTube channel over again.
Yeah, but that's not, when I say like FU money, mine wouldn't be so that I can turn around and not do anything. The FU money is to go impose my will on the world. And I'll give you an example, right? I'll give you an example. Elon Musk sold his interest in PayPal. He got, I don't know, somewhere near $200 million for this, right? You can go buy an island. You can go buy a couple $1 million island. That's some FU money, right? What did he do? He went and just bet on himself. That's what I mean. When I say FU money, that is,
okay. Yeah.
You go impose my will on everything, every way. It's
what you're saying that I misunderstood. It's funny you use Elon Musk because I like am fascinated. Like I am too. I'm fascinated because I always think, and my buddy Pete and I have talked about this, where it's like if you gave me $200 million, I would probably do a lot of things, but the one thing I probably wouldn't do is think, how can I further humanity?
Right.
I'm saying, like, how can we go to them? How can we? It's like you're on some next level shit, bro.
And would you bet every penny of that? Can you imagine that? Have you seen the Netflix documentary about the space?
How close he came over.
This guy
and over
is
again
watching wrecks of rockets, and this guy's got a set of balls on him. He's all in.
Oh, everything. Not just that. Tesla was the same way. Every time he's gone into something, he's almost gone bankrupt multiple times, borrowing multiple money. Like, you're betting everything you've got, and it's been multiple times his bets have paid off. But still, the same thing is, I'm going to start, and the stuff the things that he's taking on it's insane. Who the fuck thinks I'm going to build an electric car that nobody's building? I'm going to make it affordable. And but there's no way to generate that. Well, then I'm going to build a series of areas where you can regenerate or recharge the car. And are you out of your fucking mind, bro? None of that's going to happen. And then, no, I'm going to build rockets, and we're going to go not to the moon, not to outer space, and build maybe like a hotel that people can go and do kind of like a tourist thing. No, we're going to go all the way to Mars, which is about 2,000% harder than going to the moon. And we're going to do that, and we're going to build a city of 1 million people because I think we need to do that just in case something goes wrong here on Earth. Like, you give me 200 million, and honestly, I'm probably going to do some stuff, but it's more entertainment based for me. I might build some stuff. I might do a little bit of stuff, but it's furthering humanity and saving the environment is not a part of my agenda.
Yeah.
I'm
buying Twitter because he feels like
there's not enough free. There's too much censorship. I'm buying Twitter.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane. Like, what
at a price higher than anyone else would. I don't care. But what's crazy that he has a story about that. They ask him, A guy tells him, hey, listen, I know why you're going to fail. And he says, well, really? Well, tell me.
Right.
And the guy says, the reason you're going to fail with this Tesla deal, the reason you're going to fail is because all of these legacy automakers, they make almost 40-50% of their money comes from selling the parts on the older vehicles. That's where 40 to 50% of their revenue comes from. And you don't have any older vehicles to make that revenue from. So you're going to fail. They've got a model that you can't repeat. And he said, oh, okay, well, watch this. And instead of doing what they did, he went and figured out a way to manufacture and increase that process where his margins were big enough to cover not having those.
Right. And one of those was, I'm going to build a vehicle and we're not going to spend 20% of the profit margin on advertising. Like, then how are people going to buy your vehicle? Well, we're just going to hope it's organic. We're not going to like, are you out of your, listen, that is as dumb of an idea as the guy that walked into the first meeting and said 30 years ago and said, listen, let's bottle water. Everybody at that table had to go, who the fuck let this guy in? What are you talking about? We're going to bottle water and we're going to sell it for more than soda. Who let him in? Jennifer, did you let this fucking nutjob? How many meetings did he have to go where he was laughed out of the meeting until somebody said, well, let's look at this again. Well, how is it? Okay, well, we could try it on a small scale, maybe. And I don't know about you guys, but bottled water is tremendously fucking profitable. It's the dumbest fucking idea. And you know where most of the bottled water comes from now? They're taking it right out of the tap. They're filtering it and taking it out of the tap. And they're still selling it to me for $1.80. Are you out of your fucking mind? I mean, that's an idea that like it's the dumbest thing ever that turns into Elon Musk has had multiple stupid ideas, in my opinion, that have made billions of dollars. Like, and I'm sure every time he pitched it, even when he talks about Tesla stock and people are like, well, what about Tesla stock? Like, do you feel like it's a good value? He's like, it's really overpriced, honestly. I mean, you're like
several times.
What? This is your company. Don't say that. What are you doing? And he's like, yeah, I don't know why it's so high. It's really overvalued. Because if you do the cost analysis and you start breaking it down, you're like, what are you doing? I mean, he's very honest about just everything involved, and I think it's part of that honesty is why so many people back him and love him.
Yeah, and that's the FU money we're talking about.
Okay.
Remember, they were the boycotters. We're talking about boycotting
I'd love
Twitter.
To have then I'm on. Okay, if that's what you're saying, I would love to have FU money.
So they said we're going to boycott Twitter. Remember that? They're going to boycott Twitter. He comes right out and says, if you think you're going to use money to manipulate me, fuck you.
Yeah.
Says it right out to anybody who thinks if you're not going to advertise on my platform, you got the wrong guy.
What was the other thing? He used the Princess Bride analogy where you ever seen The Princess Bride? Where he goes, yeah, he does the whole thing where he says, offer me money. Offer me. Like he starts telling he's fighting the guy, he's going to kill him. And the guy's begging and he's like, offer me, like beg. Well, he said, beg, offer me money, offer me fame, offer me, like he's like, offer me these things to spare your life. He's like, because it doesn't matter. But I'm dying for you to offer me these things. Elon Musk does that. He goes, during a thing where they say, well, what do you think? And he goes, it makes me think of The Princess Bride, which is a kid's movie. And he's like, wow. He goes, when the guy says, offer me this, offer me that, he's like, I don't care. Mm-hmm. That's great. And he even says too, when he says, oh yeah, like they stop some big advertiser, and he's like, yeah, it'll probably bankrupt us. Yeah. He's like, but I'm not going to not do or follow what I think is right. So yeah, will it bankrupt? Yeah, probably. You'll probably bankrupt us. That's fine.
Yeah, and if you ever want to have FU money, if that's not your idol, if that's not who you want to be like, that's how you get there. You out-execute everybody else. That's what he's done on every level. He out-executed the United States. He out-executed us we're paying for rockets. He made them reusable. Made them for 10% of the cost.
How about that, bro? That was,
how big is our budget? He out-executed the United States. I mean,
listen, when those things were coming down and crashing one after another and now when they do it, it's just like, it's insane. The other thing was the boosters were supposed to get, I think 10. He figured 10. You could get 10 uses. Some of these things have done like 22 times. Like they've gone up over and over. He's like, oh, it's like there's no way this one's there's no way this one's gonna land. This is the 22nd time it's gone, whatever that is, whatever that number is. And they're outperforming even what they were hoping was the best. Was like we were hoping to get 10 or 12 uses out of them. This one's been used 22 times, and they're still landing. Like they've got it down landing.
Yep. And then you're using that to create another $1 billion company. So now you go put the satellites up there. Now you have internet everywhere. You can be in the middle of the desert. You got Starlink to your phone. So you use SpaceX, your second $1 billion company, you know.
Well, you know, and he's also got the Boring Company.
He got the Boring Company. He's got the one with he's got all of that.
It's like everybody's like, you know, why a Boring Company? Why would you? I don't understand how that. Okay, well, if he does make it to Mars, the bulk of civilization is going to be underground for a long, long time. Will there be Glass Dome City someday? Sure. Maybe we've seen Star Trek. Yeah, maybe in 200 years. But for the majority of them, you're going to have to bore, you know, through the ground. And guess what? I happen to have a Boring Company, you know. And if you're getting these rockets up there, and if you've ever watched, they said like the first, is it trillionaire or something like that? One of the first somebody I'd seen one of these where they were like the first trillionaire will be the person that figures out how to go to the asteroid belt, grab one of these asteroids,
and get the minerals in,
and bring it back. And it doesn't take much. It's putting a couple rockets, a couple of pushes to pull it out, and you can pull it right into orbit in the around the moon or around or Mars or the moon or whatever, and just use it. Most of those asteroids, not most of them, but lots of those asteroids have as much raw material for metals on one of those asteroids as we do on all of Earth. So they can easily, whoever gets that, guess what? How rich are you?
Who knows
now?
what else you find there?
Yeah, who knows?
Something we don't know about. Something that's look, this thing it's 20 times stronger. Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, that happens. You don't want to be having a ton of your money in precious metals. That's for sure.
Ooh.
Better dump all that stock immediately. But yeah, I'm fascinated. I watch tons of stuff on colonizing Mars. I watch it all the time. My wife laughs about it.
I am a nerd as well. I'm a nerd with anything to do with Elon. I'm just fascinated with people who have outdone other people. You know, you have a ton of people trying to do what he's done. He's done it better than everyone else. I mean, car companies were some of the biggest companies in the country, and he came in and competed in a space that was really crazy.
I wonder about these Tesla bots. Like initially when they come out, it's like anything. When you first come out, like they're not great, but in 5 years from now, they're going to be 10 years from now, those things are going to be amazing. The first generation or two is never the best. You have to work out the kinks. But Jesus, those things in 5 years after they first hit the market, they're going to be 10. It's going to be fun. They're going to be knocking on your door, trying to sell you aluminum siding or something, or solar panels, or you're going to be like, "What's going?" It's going to be like a normal human being.
Yeah,
they're going to be insane.
That would be crazy. You walk into a factory and it's all robots, but not in the traditional sense of a big arm robot.
Yeah.
It's actual walking around robots, and they don't need a lunch break. They don't need
no. Imagine he's saying
benefits.
They're going to be $30,000-$40,000. So I can pay a human $70,000 a year to do this job, or I can just buy 2 of these robots that work 24 hours a day. That's going to be a problem, That's going to be But once again, and he's already said, the robot thing it'll be a much bigger moneymaker than anything else I've got going.
Yeah, and can you imagine that? That's what I mean by saying I want to get on that stuff now. I'm fascinated with that in a way that I never did. I'm from a small town and nothing changes there, right? I've told you that nothing changes there, and you get.
You said they built 3 more buildings.
Yeah, new Starbucks is the excitement of the town, right? And when you don't get away much, you don't realize what's happening in the rest of the world. And the rest of the world, crazy things are happening. You go to Las Vegas, you go back 2 years later, and there's crazy stuff there. The rest of the world is doing these crazy things, and unless you you get out a little bit and see what everybody's doing. It gives you that, for me, it gives you that thirst to get out and do more, That's kind of what I thought I was doing. I was scouting locations in Ohio. I was going to move this chain to I was going to go to 50 stores really, really quick,
Well, Uncle Sam put a stop to that.
Uncle Sam put a stop to that one. But, that's why, nowadays, I wouldn't go back to the same thing. I've got 5 kids. That's crazy. I can't go.
5 kids?
Got 5 kids. I can't be doing anything that's going to bring me to jail. I've got a little 4-year-old. So it's crazy. Me and and Katie. So we've got a 4-year-old daughter. So I actually have a grandson that's 1 years old, right? And it's crazy. We went on a little vacation and come back and oopsie, So I have all my kids are in their 20s. I have 3 kids that can drink. And now a 4-year-old, oopsie comes along, but it, having a kid later in life that's young like that, it keeps you young. But after all that I've been through, I'm in a place now where I would never do something for a living that I can't bring my kids to. Mm-hmm. I was always in the gray area, but even smoke shop-ish, there's so much out there. And you learn this, like you were a person that went and read a bunch of books and you learn about the world and you say, well, I don't have to do that anymore. I don't have to do something that's in a gray area. I don't have to do something that I can't bring my kids to work. Now I'm not doing anything that I can't bring them and show them and, that I can't be proud of, in that way. So, learning, you learn about the world too, going to prison because you meet people from everywhere doing everything, stuff you can't even think of,
How long you've been out? How long? When'd you get out?
I got out in May of 2018. So I did my 3 years on post release. I immediately knew I wanted to go to a business friendly state with no tax. I went to Dallas and Tampa. I was going to go to one of those 2 places. I went to Dallas and there was an ice storm, the worst ice storm they've ever seen in 100 years, the week I was there. And then I came to Tampa and had a beautiful trip. Last day was at Anna Maria Island, fantastic. And I said, this is where I want to be. So I moved to, because now when you're off the post-release supervision, that's it. Yeah. No babysitter. Now it's time to go hard. Now it's no babysitter. It's go time. I came down here. I was doing a CBD business at the time. I was making these honey sticks and these other products. Went to a trade show and this guy was selling freeze-dried ice cream sandwiches, and I was buying them, and people were buying them like crazy. Doing great, and it was dropped with CBD on them, So they were selling like crazy, and so I originally got the first machine to try to replicate and fill the orders he couldn't fill. At the time, I didn't realize why he couldn't do it, but one run takes you an entire day to do in this freeze dry machine. It looks just like your dryer, Okay. And you're loading trays of food in there, and it takes all the water content out. So an ice cream sandwich turns into like a styrofoam brick looking shape, but you could leave it out. You can seal it in plastic as long as you don't let it get exposed to oxygen. You can leave that out for 10 years and still eat it, room temperature. So that's what they do with space food. So that's why freeze-dried products have become so popular, because the shelf life is amazing. You get something that's chocolate, you got to move it nonstop. The shelf life, the heat, different things. So that's, I was supplementing that. I got my first machine to sort of do that. And then I started, me being me, testing everything, having everybody try all this different stuff. People were trying Skittles, lemon heads, all these different products and loving them. Like, oh, this is fantastic, So I knew that was it. Like I say, you got to find the thing. That's all I've been looking for. Find the new thing, something that interests me, but yet is that I know is it. So I was onto it before anybody else. Fuel on the fire, pour fuel on the fire on that. And, I went from, a little 1,200 square foot building to, 3 decent sized buildings. I've sold products to thousands of stores, probably in about 4,500 stores, and making my own candy now, doing some pretty crazy stuff, trying to get innovative and do, expand that. And, when you get out and you have nothing and you're starting over from scratch again, you just need that one little start. And some people go back to something crazy because they can't get that, that once everybody always tells yourself that, right? Like, I just need that like 100,000 to start up with something, So, now that I've gotten into this, I poured fuel on the fire of that and doing really good with it. So,
Hey, you guys, John is thinking about sponsoring the podcast. I don't even know what I'm supposed to say at this point. So buy some of the candy. So, right. Did I? Yeah. Yeah. Are you going to use this as the fucking thing? All right. Hey, you guys, John is thinking about sponsoring the podcast. So do me a favor, click on the link and go buy some of the candy. It's really good. It's freeze-dried. It's really good. It's freeze-dried. Actually, I love Red Hots. These are like Red Hots, right? They blow them up. He puts them in the thing and blows them up like they're good. I love Red Hots. You know what else I love? You know what else I love? These are Red Hots. I loved Red Hots as a kid. I loved Red Hots as a kid. You know what else I loved, which he's got? Which is lemon heads. I didn't even think they made lemon heads anymore, but they're delicious. Hey, thank you very much for watching the video. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notified of videos like this. Also, please consider joining our Patreon. It's $10 a month, and it really does help Colby and I make videos like this. We're going to leave all of Bliss Life's links in the description box, so you can go in there and click on that and check it out. And maybe in the future, we may be doing some ads for freeze-dried candy. Bliss Life freeze-dried candy? Bliss Life freeze-dried candy. That's a tongue twister. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you guys watching. Please consider sharing the video to friends and family. See ya.